Hello, welcome to episode 10 of the G52 podcast. A rather subdued recording on a Monday night for us. Not a usual night for recording, but I've come back from being a man-child in Devon and drinking and running and dressing up and generally causing chaos. And I think Stu's just actually tired from being an adult tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, something like that. It's been a busy weekend and a busy day at work today, and my son kept me up again last night after giving me a full night's sleep the night before. Teased me, thinking we were out of this rut.
Teased you.
Yeah, but it's been a good weekend. There's been loads of news. Obviously, recording just after the weekender, so it's been exciting to see all of that stuff happening. But I'm pretty tired. But we've got lots to record in the next few weeks, and I'm on holiday next week, so we need to find time to get all this stuff out to you people. So we're recording when we would normally, and without aid of alcohol or any of the other things that keep us going.
Yeah, so it's like I said, guys. Yeah, we want to. The weekend has just happened. Neither of us, unfortunately, were able to make it, but we have had agents working on the inside in plenty of places, so we've got loads of information. We actually managed to secure a copy of Inferno. I've got a copy coming. Our agents on the inside managed to get me a copy, so whether that's going to trigger some people about pre-order sales and stuff, but we've got a book, so we will be taking you through it. So what we're going to do, like Stu said, we've got loads of content over the next few weeks because we're going to go through the book in detail. I mean, there's going to be the other shows out there who are going to nail it pretty quick and go out there. I mean, we want to take our time. We want to really go through it. We're going to try and break it up into good chunky sections and really go through it. And hopefully we're actually going to get together in the man cave in the shed, aren't we, Stu, and sit down and look at the book and go through it together for once.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I won't have one for God knows how long. The rumours are, or they sort of 5 to 6 weeks before pre-order. We don't know whether that's true or not, but that was some of the rumours that it's still on the boat, and the stuff that the weekender was just air freighted over for the weekender. So yeah. I've had vouchers since Christmas sitting waiting for this, and they're sitting applied to my Forge World account, so I couldn't sling anyone any money to pick me one up, so I have to wait. Luckily with that long wait, because we didn't think it was going to be you have got one, so at least as far as the show goes, we've got something to work from. There's loads of stuff out there. People have already seen loads of leaked stuff. We could probably talk quite a lot about it right now. Not that we're going to, but we could do some decent shows just off what's leaked. But we will have the book, or you will have a book that we can both look at and do a proper review of. Should we talk about a little bit how we're going to do it then over the next few episodes? So today this episode, we're really just going to talk a little bit about our most exciting things that we've seen from the weekender, the things that sort of took our fancy, and then after that we've got Sam Perkins, who's been on the show before. He's going to come on the show and talk us through his experiences and give a bit of a review of the weekender itself rather than just Inferno. Talk a bit about painting. Sam was quite successful there. Sam's now a award-winning painter, so we won't spoil any more than that.
He can finally say he's joined our ranks. Me and of both being award-winning painters. Yeah. For those of you, the inside jokes, Stu's picked up a couple of prizes here in the past few years for
other systems,
for War Machine stuff.
Yeah, it was actually Malifaux things, but a War Machine event, and then you've just got best painted, haven't you, at your last event?
I got a best painted model at Traitors Raid, so we can both say succinctly and without lying, we are award-winning painters. It may not be a golden demon, but it's a fucking prize for painting. So I'm in there. So yeah, no, it would be good to have Sam on. He's going to come on and chat. So we're going to give it, so we're going to try and cover with Sam, his highlights from the weekender and stuff, and like I said, try and talk more about the other things other than Inferno, because I mean, if we talk Inferno with Sam for 2 hours and then you've got 6 months of us going on about Inferno, you might be sick of it by then. So we'll hopefully go through. I mean, there's loads to talk about. There's the Angelus seminar, there's the Adeptus Titanicus seminar, new models, all the new books and stuff that are coming out. It's going to be. There's so much content that came out of that weekend, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do it in a logical order, I think. So weekender first, and then next episode, if everything goes well, should be an overview of Inferno. The two of us, not the whole episode, but there'll be a section in there that's an overview. The both of us sitting together, looking at the book. And we're not going to go into great detail, do a list review or anything. We're going to flick through the book, talk about the overall general
looking at the
themes
pictures.
Just looking at the pictures, really. But just
neither me or Stu can read books properly.
No, I only look at pictures anyway. But yeah, just a basic overview of the book, what's in it, the contents, and our first sort of impressions on it. And then the episodes, sort of, I think it's probably going to be 3, maybe 4 episodes after that. We're going to take a list at a time and do a bit more in-depth list review, but covering fluff, models.
There's people out there who are probably, many casts that are going to probably, if you want to go and look at the, the real hardcore list mechanics, I know Ryan's going to have a really good go at the lists, from Radio Free S fan. I know he was, he's got some pretty strong feelings on it. I mean, there are guys, and me and Stu will admit, I can't write a legal list. Stu is much more of a painter and a modeler. We're not there. I love playing the game. I really do enjoy playing the game. We both love playing the game, but it's not our strong side. So we're going to let the people who are strong at that take that on, and we're going to look at it and look at it from our point of view. What makes us excited as hobbyists? What gets us raging? What do we want to paint? What do we want to model? What really stands out for us?
Yeah, absolutely. We will look at the unit stats and the rules, and we will talk about it. But we'll talk about the fluff just as much, and probably talk about the hobby side. So how you'd go about maybe modelling that unit or starting a force from whichever list we do first. I think we're probably going to do Talons first, aren't we? And then it's and then
I think that's really where we want to go.
Yeah, I think it's both the thing that makes sense most as well. But Talons first.
I had a golden hard on all the weekend.
There's some really nice stuff in it.
Some sexy custards.
And what there's then Thousand Suns after that, and then finally the Vilca Fenrico, and then we probably we haven't discussed this, but we probably need another final episode after that just to cover the other extra units that don't go in those lists and some of those that excite you quite a lot.
Well, we might do that. Yeah, we might throw that in with Talons depending how we get on. Yeah. Maybe Talons and others, and so. But so that's the general plan. So
it may
change. That slides slowly into. It may change. God knows what's going to happen. I'm going to Gibraltar. If I never make it back, you may have to replace me. Me and Jens are going monkey fighting in Gibraltar. Apparently, he's bringing his girlfriend with him as well. She's taking on more monkeys than both of us. We're gonna get whiskeyed up and go and fight some monkeys. Apparently, they're badass monkeys in Gibraltar.
Poor woman, being subjected to you. Does she, as Jens, as he warned her, probably.
I don't know. I usually generally come with a freaking health warning anyway. So, I mean, if anything like this weekend was anything to go by, it wasn't good. Oh Jesus! I thought Saturday night, midnight, drunk. Anyone fancy a bottle of port? Yeah, let's have a bottle of port. I don't drink port. I drank a bottle of port. I then got up at 9 o'clock to go for a 4 mile run that ended with a swim in the English Channel at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. Make of that what you will. It was good fun.
So why don't you tell the listeners briefly what you were actually doing? Because I think you sent some pictures to the podcast chat that popped up. You dressed as an elf or a pixie or something at one point, and then pictures of blokes dressed as fairies in bed with your wife and things. So it's quite an interesting weekend you had.
I did what I normally do when I'm drunk. I send pictures to groups of people and then fall asleep, so they get a weird picture and then no context. Some listeners out there might be aware of the Hash House Harriers. It's a big international group. It's basically an overgrown idiots club. We're a running group, so we do lots of running and stuff. But it's go to a pub, go for a run, go back to the pub and have a few more drinks. So it's about the only way you'll get me doing exercises if there's drinking involved. But we go for a birthday weekend every year, which is celebrate the start of the club. 36 years it's been rattling on now. I've only been involved with it for a couple of years now, but we go off and we go down to a sunny seaside village. And if you've ever been to a British seaside town in the middle of January, early February, you'll know they're depressing places. Every fucking thing is shut. But we go down there, we take over our whole hotel, 94 of us, I think, this year. And we basically run and drink and get dressed up and run and drink and walk and get dressed up a bit more. But, I mean, yeah, it was quite messy. At one point, two of my friends who were dressed up as Adam and Eve in full body, what is it? It's like morph suit that was naked. We decided after we drunk the bottle of rum on Saturday night that, not a bottle of rum, bottle of port. I drank most of a bottle of rum anyway, but a bottle of port as well. That I'd had enough. They were going to go into town and I was going to go up to bed, and they decided to come up with me and make sure my wife was all right. So 1:30 in the morning, she wasn't best pleased when we turned up, and I decided to invade the room. And she had three of us. But yeah, a good weekend was had by all. I'm gonna put it out there for. I know no hobbyists are not the most athletically minded people, but if you are fancy a good fun run, go and find your local Hash House Harriers. Generally, it's pretty stupid and it's lots of funny running. But yeah, anyway, plug for that over and done with. Basically, I spent most of the day sitting around going, "Oh Jesus Christ, I've had 4 hours sleep." So I've been struggling a bit today. Yeah. So that was what I was doing, and what it basically meant is I missed most of the releases as they were going. I know Stu did a very good job of keeping me up to date, but he tended to get a message about 2 a.m. going, "I haven't read it, I'm really drunk." So I spent most of Sunday morning in bed actually wearing off a hangover in my running gear going, "I need to read all these rules before Monday, otherwise Stu will shout at me when I go on the podcast and I don't know what I'm talking about." So yeah, it was cool. But I did manage to keep a bit of an eye on it and see what was going on, and there was lots of things to get excited about at the weekend, wasn't there?
Loads of news. It seems to be busier. I think I don't know if that's because the book most people had the book in their hands on the Friday evening this time, which seems to spread out the news a little bit. I think it worked.
Normally
worked
Friday.
really well. I quite from someone not being there, it seemed to work really well because you got all of the rules leaks and the list talk and the book talk on the Friday evening, which meant that there was less of that on the Saturday and Sunday, so that the new models and new releases and the news from the seminars seemed to be a little bit easier to take in. It wasn't sort of muddled in between all of the book talk, so it worked really well from a kind of reporting point of view. I was able to keep up with what was going on a lot easier. So they did a good job. It wasn't accidentally, I suppose, by timing that, but
I think the Friday night sale was generated from last year, wasn't it? When there was
people queuing up that the first seminar was empty and
they missed seminars on Saturday morning because they were. Yeah, so I think it was brilliant. Get down there on Friday night because I think most weekender people go on the Friday night anyway, don't they? I mean, I would. I know a lot of people. I know the Sons of Heresy guys and a load of guys going to No Retreat and all kinds of groups that I'm involved in with the Heresy. We're saying, we're arranging meetups on the Friday night and lots of games during the day on Friday. I know Max actually got thrown out. He got a drinks ban from from Warhammer World on the Friday night for apparently wrestling in Bugman's bar a bit too much. Apparently Max and Paddy got into it. Max and Paddy from the Road to Terror. They decided to start a podcast and thought they'd better make a name for themselves at their first event. And apparently Max was told he would not get any more booze in Warhammer World. To which you think he probably responded, "Well, fuck it, we're off to the hotel anyway." So yeah, he wasn't too worried. But yeah, it sounded like lots of shenanigans up there. And the pre-sale did. It was nice. Friday night was definitely all the excitement about the Inferno rules. And then when we hit Saturday, it was like, right, well, we've all got excited about Inferno. We know that. Now let's go and see it, look at the pretty models and take in what was going on there. So it's all good. It was all good. I think they did a really good job with it this year.
It was nice to see the stuff going up on the community page as well. There was a live blog with the stuff. You can go on there now and see it, so you can see it's all timed as things were announced. They were sharing it with the community, so the people that weren't there could actually follow it along. Obviously, there was people tweeting it and posting blogs. Your Garrow and your Battle Bunnies and all of the usual sources. But there was an official line from GW Stroke Forge World as well, which is really nice to see. Wasn't quite as detailed, but there was something there, and you can go back and read it now.
Yeah, but it was nice to actually see. Like I said, I mean, I love all the guys, we're praying for all the community people putting all the pictures up, and it's really exciting seeing it coming up almost live on, social media and stuff. But it was really cool to have nice, professionally, fully painted photographs of the models up as well. I mean, I think a lot of blogs in the end actually will post, they post a couple of the pictures as we're going, and then posting the Warhammer community pictures up as well, because, it's great to have those really good quality pictures out there as well. So, yeah, I mean, I know I actually listened to the Age of Darkness's weekly briefing or their weekender briefing this week, and it's one of the things that JP commented. It was really nice that for the people who, not just the people like us who couldn't make it, but the people who to get there would have been a nightmare. The Canadians, the Americans, the Australians, they could keep up as well. And see nice. JP said he was sitting there pressing F5 refreshing. I know Mark pointed out to him that if he actually bothered to get a smartphone, he could just refresh it by scrolling. But JP, I mean, most technically behind a lot of us.
I don't think he wants
recording
a phone,
a podcast.
does he? It's a choice. It's a choice.
He doesn't
not have one. Isn't it?
It's a choice. Yeah, it's not like me. It's not like me who is technically illiterate and break anything I touch. He made a fundamental choice, but yeah, it was. I think that's really good. I mean, Forge World and Games Workshop did a really good job of covering it this year. Because did they live stream the seminars as well on
I've not
their
seen them.
TV channel?
Maybe because I don't want to pay to join the Twitch thing because I wouldn't watch it most of the time. There's not really heresy content on there, but I believe they did, and I believe they're going to be up to sort of watch on demand.
Do you have to buy in for a year, or is it, or can you just get a 1 month?
No idea. I imagine it's monthly. With Twitch usually it's a monthly.
Yeah, I was just thinking whether you got to buy in for a year.
No, I very much doubt it.
Whether you could go on, weekender, watch it have it for a month, watch it and bugger off. That'd be good. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it's a choice. The options there. They did a free option of pictures and they did the live stream. That's fantastic. Compared to last year where the only source of information was your Garrows and stuff. You do a fantastic job for us all. But they've really opened it up, and I mean we're spoilt in the UK of having it on our doorstep. For the guys who are abroad, it's great to open it up for them and they can enjoy.
Yeah. They did a great job of it.
So what got your rod going at the weekend?
So I'm going to resist the temptation to sort of start talking too much about it because we're going to have that great conversation with Sam. But my favourite, there's so much good stuff.
Do your top three then.
My favourite by far.
Put you on the spot.
Shall I go in reverse order? That means I've actually got to think of three then, on the spot. I think my third favourite. It's going to be models because that's the way I look at things. But my third favourite thing that I saw come out, I don't know actually. I've got a top two. There's lots of things that are nice, but two. I'll just do a top two. Second favourite was the Custodes jet bike. Awesome looking thing. Really nice model.
Much sleeker than the penis bike.
The back looks about the same. It's very similar. They've just sort of changed the sort of the front nose end. They just look awesome.
But it looks
sleeker.
A
little bit sleeker, but it looks more kind of I don't know. It's a bit like it's like it looks a bit
the
like
big red paint job on the front though does make it look like a big car.
Chitty Bang Bang with the wheels taken off, isn't it? But
Chitty Bang Bang bike.
It's that kind of feel.
I'm going to name all my custos Cracktopus.
So I really like that. But something that surprised me, and I didn't think they were going to bring out, and surprised me in the styling, and I think lots of people were saying the same thing. It was the Sisters of Silence car on Acquisitor, their big transport. It's
Dune
awesome.
Mobile.
It's got it's got elements of Thunderbird 1 or 2, whatever it is, the big green one in it as well. But it's such an amazing model that I'm going to have to buy one when it comes out in 2019 or whatever it is they finally get it out. But it's just so different to anything that you've ever seen from that kind of universe before. It doesn't. If you took the Aquila off, and you just saw that the pictures of it, you wouldn't necessarily guess it was Forge World or GW.
Right.
And which I find really interesting.
Yeah, which is
amazing. I love it.
I just can't wait till we can have the I'm gonna, if I do Sisters, they're all going to be based around Shahelu riders, and it's going to be that vehicle is going to be named the Great Maker and things like that. It just looks like the Sandworms. It's amazing. It's so cool. I mean, apparently the front end of it's magnetized, so you can have it
holes for
open and shut,
so that you can take it off. But the pictures show. Because when I first looked at it, I thought, well, it looks quite nice with the front off, but is there an option? And apparently there is, because it's supposed to look like it's kind of folded back on itself, isn't it? To show the big the big
opens.
round door. It's a good thing that round door's not at the back, isn't it?
Oculus.
The sphincter door.
It does look a little bit like a fleshlight at points,
It does
doesn't
a
it?
little bit. Yes.
But yeah, no, it's already bad enough for GW sexism giving the first female characters in there a sex toy transport.
No, it's amazing. Really, really amazing.
No, good. I feel I like that. Now you pretty much stolen my number one, so I'm gonna have to think on my feet and change my mind then. So, what did I get a real rod on for? It's not so much models that are out. It's the fact I've got a massive robo on for the Secretary list, because ever since I saw those hoplite models, I went, they're really cool. So they're the Mechanicum spear and shield guys that were. When did we see them at the open day last year?
That's when they were first on sale, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's when they were first out. Yeah. And I've been waiting. So they're an upgrade off the Skitarii model, the 40k Skitarii models. And I've always liked the 40k Skitarii models, but never enough to really jump in. And the spear and shields just made me go, yeah, that's lush, that's brilliant. So seeing the army list now and realizing that they can be taken as part of an auto-reductive force, which means I can finally run my Atropos for once, it was like, I can have the models I want, I can have the model I want to use, and it gives me an excuse to buy a Titan if needs be. It was just that for me was really cool. And I've now pretty much settled on what I'm going to do next. I'm going to do my hoplite army, Triaris conveyors with hoplites in them, Atropos, maybe a Warhound to swap in at bigger points. And did you see the Triaros radiation missile tank? The assault tank?
Is there a picture of it on there?
That's got the mortar in it. That's got that fires. Yeah, the mortar that fires radiation missiles at people. Is amazing. Chris, I was talking to Chris from the Vangarian earlier because he's talking about knowing it in one. What's it called? Where's that bloody thing gone?
The Karanos assault tank, is it?
That's it. The Karanos assault tank. Yeah, I probably pronounced it all wrong, but yeah. The assault tank is pretty wicked. It's pretty cool. So yeah, number 3 for me was definitely sorting out what I want to do next. That was pretty wicked. I love the models. It's given me the excuse to build the army I'm going to do next. So the Ultramarines are going to stay at about 3,500 points worth of models, and I'll probably do a few bits for them over the years. I've been talking with Mr. Kimmel about an orbital assault force that requires me to build and paint a couple of models to then give me 2 really distinctive armies, Pride of the Legion army and a Dreadclaw army. Not Dreadclaw army, an orbital assault army. I'm looking at the bloody Dreadclaw.
Does that sum it up, though? calling it a Dreadclaw army.
Yeah, I did write the list to adapt the orbital assault to have 3 Dreadclaws and 3 drop pods in it, but yeah, no, it's cool. It gives me an excuse. If you listen to one of the latest Radio Free fans, Ryan gave me some help with an orbital assault list, and it requires me to build, I think, some Terminators, which would be nice to do because I haven't got any Terminators, and I think I need to get some Avenger Strike Fighters as well, which are nice models as well. So I can, for not a lot of models, I can give myself 2 very different armies then.
Yeah.
So it's cool. We can go for that. So I'll probably do that in a bit as well. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to go hoplite. Sounds cool. Number 2, what else did I get excited about? I've got to say, I do love the Custos Contemptors. They are wicked. Both of them look amazing, and they were beautiful things to behold. So I like that. I'm not so keen on the heavy dreadnought. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's their version of the
like
Leviathan, isn't
the old school term.
Yeah, it's got that styling to it. I think once you see it on the table next to other miniatures, you'll lose that look because you've seen the pictures you see of it are very front on, which give it that kind of Rogue Trader Terminator kind of look. But yeah, I think once we see it posed and painted, I think it'll look a lot better, not quite so static and rigid.
Yeah, it just everything in the Custos list looks so slick and very sleek. Yeah. It just feels a bit blocky and heavy for them, but it's pretty good. It's beautiful. Yeah, like I said, I don't think I'm not sitting here going it's disgusting. I'm sitting here thinking I just don't like it as much as the others. But yeah, the two Custos Contemptors were really cool. And then I was going to go in with the sisters June Warrior, June Warrior model. I love that thing. I do love that thing. I think it's really cool.
You don't have to change your mind because I picked it. We're allowed to agree on the top.
I do. I do. I gotta come up with something different.
Well, I thought of a number 3 if you want a bit of time to think.
Yeah, go on, do number 3 and I'll come back for 2 because that's definitely the right order to be doing things in.
Well, my number 3 isn't a model. It's the fact that they're going to release the John French's Talon series all in one as an anthology. Because I've not read any of it because the cost of buying all the individual short stories, it gets a bit stupid. So it's out in August. So it's something that's been on my radar. I wanted to read for a while. So them sticking it in a nice anthology, that was quite good. Finally got around to doing it. So I'm looking forward to reading that later in the year when it comes out.
Yeah, so am I. I haven't read the Talon books. Actually, that is very good. I'm going to put number 1, the fact that they've said there's going to be 15 to 20 black books. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we get to Terra soon because I don't want to stretch it too far. I think I knew there was going to be, but it's nice to know that if we get to Terra quite quickly, they could potentially go back and look at other, we could go back and do Talon. Because, I mean, we are with Angelus, aren't we? Thramus and Cygnus are behind where we are at the moment because we're with Inferno. Oh, no, because we went back for Inferno because we were practically on the push to Terra anyway, weren't we?
Pre-heresy.
And now we're going back.
So it's a bit weird, isn't it? When that was announced, I think Max was put it in our in the podcast chat, and I think I commented at the time, that's really good, but does that mean that we might wait another God knows how many years? So it's been 5 years to get 7 books, isn't it? So if we're looking at doubling that, is that going to be another 5-6 years before we get to Terra, or are they going to get there? I think this is what you were getting at. Are they going to get to Terra within the next sort of 3 or 4 books?
I think they need to
add some more. I don't know if they will now. Thinking about it.
Yeah, they need to push on to.
No, I don't think they will. I think
they need to push on to Terra.
They're going to long it out,
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at the updated. Timeline that was on. I love that. You see the timeline with all the boxes on it.
I
they show every year,
and I haven't read it.
Great,
actually, I need to look at it, but
because interestingly, the solar campaign starts, at the same time as Fall, just after Isfan, and it's very interesting. But yeah, you're looking at, we want to go back. Prospero happens at the same time as Isfan 3, so we've gone back from that. I mean, so Thramus is actually on from there. This is interesting that this has come out from Angelus that I don't know anything about. The Passage of the Angel of Death. What is the Passage of the Angel of Death? I have no idea, but that runs from halfway through the Battle of Talon to the Siege of Terra. What's the Sea of Fire? There's loads of bits on it. There's the Sea of Fire, there's the Tilda. Are we going to go back to Chandax for White Scars? Because we know Angelus is coming, and that's Blood Angels, Dark Angels. Still no bloody White Scars.
Night Lords to the bottom of Angelus as well, haven't they? Listening, just really pissed the Scars players off. They've got a third Legion in there.
But but as every good Scars player knows, everybody forgets about the White Scars. Even Malcador is quoted as saying, "Why does everybody forget about the Scars?" Because the Khan just goes, "I'm gonna, there's the Wolf Cull to deal with. There's so much stuff on this timeline that just isn't, that isn't covered yet. The Battle of Moloch, that's a book. That's a great book. That is where Horus, gets a mushroom and powers up, ready for the boss fight. But there's also, nearly 5 years between the Battle of Moloch and the start of the Siege of Terra. So we've got so much stuff to be covered. But yeah, I think I'd like to get to Terra fair.
I don't think it'll happen now. The more I think about it, I think
I don't mind the black.
Do it in they're going to long it. But let's face it, they need a Dawn model if they're going to do Terra, and it doesn't look like they're going to make that anytime soon. So
You ain't getting a Dawn model. You
you
are
know
not
what?
getting Dawn until the last book
when
comes
I'm
out.
focusing on the stuff I'm doing at the moment, I almost don't want it because I don't want to be drawn back towards the fist at the moment. I want to finish my Solar Ox and then maybe do something else first. So I don't actually mind at the moment, but I don't think they're going to get to Terra soon. I think they're going to try and leave that to the final book or two. Either do a massive book that costs 150 quid, that's 600 pages, or actually make it into a little trilogy or something at the end. I think they're going to fill it out.
I think you'll see 5 books for Terra, five or 6 books on Terra, including the Solar War, the invasion of the Solar.
Build up slowly.
Everything's going on there. Because you can have the invasion of the solar system, you can have the the battle of Mars. There's things like Jupiter to deal with, and Saturn and Luna and stuff, and that's even before we get to the invasion of Terra, and before the siege. We got what the hell Fulgrim and the Emperor's Children were up to across Terra. Basically having dirty sex parties the whole way across the planet. And that's not even including the siege. The siege at the bloody Fort Palace of Terra. So it's going to be good. There's going to be loads of stuff to do. But yeah, I think it's just really positive that this hobby is not going to go away in the next 2 or 3 years, is it?
Definitely not. So they've got a lot of plans, and the amount of models that look like they're going to come out this year should keep everyone busy for a while. And make us really excited about the next release.
We got
the quality of the stuff they're producing for the Custodes and the Thousand Suns and the Vilka Fenrica. In fact, there's not really many Vilka Fenrica models, is there? So we've got all that to come as well. So so there's it's going to be a busy year.
But we did. What was the most important models previewed in the weekend then, Stu? What was the most important models
in terms of the game? You mean?
The most hotly anticipated models that have finally got models.
Right, yeah, Tyrant Siege.
Tyrants.
Yes.
There is.
I don't know why they didn't
some
just do an
Tyrant
upgrade
Siege
kit, because I think they make more money from that, because you can.
To be honest, I sort of looked at the models and went, oh, it's not really anything on them.
With missile launchers,
but then yeah, you say that. Though, go and look at them in detail. The helmets on them are
that's
stunning.
Could be an upgrade kit, couldn't it? I don't get it. I'm not knocking them. They look brilliant, but I don't get why they're a complete kit when they could be saving pit blinds and making things that are easier to cast to go with the already existing plastic cataphractic kit, which is fine. I'm just surprised they didn't go down the route of specialised shoulder pads, helmets, and then. And then the missile launchers.
Because they probably had the kits made for about 20 for
that
about
could be it.
2 or 3 years,
could be it.
And they've just sat on them just to make the Iron Warriors players more bitter. just to get them go. I'm just scrolling through the community page. Yeah, I do like them. They've got the pith helmet looking German First and Second World War helmets, and yeah, there's some nice detailing on them. I don't think all cataphracties have the metal dangly bits that look like penises between their legs, and the missile launchers. Yeah, no, they're beautiful looking models. They are beautiful looking models. Excellent. Like I said, we don't want to go too into detail. We're going to cover it in a lot of detail in other places. There was one more thing I wanted to mention, really, from the Weekender. We did get a little bit of insider trading from one of our agents about Titanicus. One of our good agents, Si, sent me a message saying he was having a chat with Andy Hoare over the weekend about it. And I think at the moment their initial plans are it's not going to be a box set with models as we were hoping last episode. It's going to be a set of rules, and then you'll buy things like buildings and models and bits go separately. Apparently it's nowhere near a full release yet, though, because they haven't even got the models done. So that may change. They may do the models and might decide to do a box set when they've got the models. Who knows? But at the moment, it's not looking good for a box set. But we're definitely getting Titanicus. And I think it went down pretty well within the participation games. I heard a lot of people having a lot of fun doing it, playing it with 28mm scale Titans and stuff. But yeah, that was a bit of news. So Titanicus looking like maybe one of the black books.
Yeah,
then.
it'll be nice. I mean, I think we talked about it in the last episode. I'd like to have seen a plastic kind of starter set, but with the black book as well. But it definitely looks like they're struggling with resource at the moment. I know they're still trying to hire two sculptors to help with all these specialist release things. So. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. Whatever. If it's a black book and expensive separate titans, it will be on my list, but it won't be something that I kind of feel like I need to go out and buy straight away, which is a shame. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I mean, there is so much, I think, GW Prime content at the moment in there. I mean, we're seeing the full Acadia and stuff, and all that kind of stuff. Moving the 40k timeline on, which is pretty important as a product line for GW. So I mean, there's just a case of not wanting for the Titanicus release to get swallowed in amongst that. For it to be a little pop up thing that's there one week and then disappears because there's so much 40k stuff going on. And they're still pushing Sigmar quite hard. They're trying to do that. So there's a timing issue of finding a slot, I think, as well to give it the decent release that it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So when are you? I forgot to ask you actually. So when are you throwing your Gilliman away and replacing it with the new plastic one?
When my penis shrivels up and disappears inside me, which was about 11 o'clock Sunday morning when I hit the fucking English Channel. Yeah, I've had a weekend to look at it. I've had some time to think about it. He's fucking terrible. I've been trying to like it all weekend. I've been trying to think it's 40k. It's not the design. It's fucking awful.
Have you seen
I'm
the
sorry.
Photoshopped
the head's out.
Emperor that someone's made from it when they've put long. It actually looks much better, doesn't it? I think the head looks like a pinhead.
Better. I actually saw an even better Photoshop of that, where someone had taken the Photoshop of the Emperor and photoshopped Duncan's face on it. And I think they put something like for the dry brushing and the thin paints.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the model either. When I first saw it, I thought I really tried to look at it. Sort of, I don't know. I thought it might have some potential, and then as the clearer pictures came out later in the day, it's
the chest that does it for me. His chest is too big. It sticks out like he's got
legs look too long as well. It looks too big. I think if it was scaled down by about a fifth and it had a different head and it wasn't Gilliman, I think the body's scaled down by a fifth, you could make a nice Dawn conversion from it. Because I think that armor lends itself more to his. That kind of, it would look better painted gold than it does with blue. But again, as a 40k model, maybe people who are into the 40k aesthetic more, they might like it. But we're very much into the Forge World Heresy aesthetic, which is it's chalk and cheese now almost, isn't it? It's a very different thing. So I'm not surprised we don't like it, to be honest with you. But
well, it won't be a problem because the 40k players won't paint it anyway. They won't have to paint all those fucking silly ramen noodles that are strewn all over his fucking armor, dangling around on it. And they won't have to paint the ankle torches. No, they're not.
That was just an angle of the.
I don't know. I think it's always going to be a sore subject.
I've wind you up a bit.
If I was a 40k player, still, I'd have still gone out and bought the Forge World model and run that because I think regardless, I don't think they've smashed it out of the park with a lot of models. The Magnus model for 40k, actually, give it its due, it's a fucking good looking model. I really like that. And depending on what happens later in the Heresy, if we do get options for Demon Primarchs, I don't think, with a nice paint job, I don't think I'd be too butthurt about seeing Demon Magnus in the right setting.
I think it looked fine.
In a Heresy game.
Absolutely fine.
I think Gilliman,
not as Gilliman. Not as Gilliman. Again, I looked at it. I thought, I might make a GW legal Dawn replacement, but I think it would be too big. I think he's just too large.
It's the head's too small. The chest looks like he's got the best set of bangers I've ever seen outside of Pawn. His legs look like a gangly prick, and I just don't. Someone's put they're going to a helmeted version. Oh, somebody put a picture up. I think it might have been Jody. Putting the Gilliman's face next to that from the laddie who played Joffrey in Game of Thrones, and it's fucking so similar. It's scary. He looks like a little brat. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the story goes because obviously Gilliman's gone to bed 10,000 years ago when it was all imperial truth and woken up with fucking religious fanatics.
Woke up a lot taller as well, which is.
Fuck me, 10,000 years in stasis, you don't have to make your tits grow and your legs grow. So, yeah, Gilliman, best left to 40k. I'll play with my pretty Gilliman, who actually died. Yeah, so 40k Gilliman, fucking leave him alone, and I will. I did make a threat that I'd drop kick anybody who put it up on a heresy table off the field. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Hashtag triggered. Triggering is intensifying. Cool. So, what are we on to next, Stu? Because I'm totally definitely tired.
So,
what did we want to do next?
We're not going to go on about the weekend anymore because we've got Sam up next to talk about it properly. So, I think it's just as the normal reminder that we have at the end of our ramble at the beginning about social networks and stuff. So please like us on Facebook and join us in our Facebook group. There's quite a lot of chat been going on since the Weekender, so get involved in there. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to get in touch with us, please email us at gino52podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. Stu answers the email, so you won't get me. You won't get my crap. I tend to post on Facebook a lot, so if you want to talk shit, I tend to be around there. But if you want a sensible answer to something, email us. Stu will deal with that.
Absolutely, yeah. But please do get into. We're getting quite a lot of contact at the moment anyway. Not so much in between the last episode because we only recorded about 5 days ago or so, but we still had a little bit. So yeah, head over to iTunes, leave us a positive review, help us out there. Head over to our shirt store at shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Gino52 podcast. So any profits from that will help us buy a couple of microphones and a mixer so that we can sound a little bit more level with our volume levels and get together and record. So we're not trying to make any money for new toys or to go on holidays or anything like that.
Yeah, Stu's told me that my bitches and champagne budget has now had to be reduced to white lightning and a shady hand job around the back of the bins budget. So I'm cutting back to make sure we don't spend too much money on other things. So I'd like a shaky hand job from a cheap hooker. So yeah, buy some t-shirts from me.
Or just get in touch with Tom and arrange back of what pub that to meet up at and deliver in person.
I prefer if you look me in the eyes and you don't smile.
intense staring.
Yeah, so yeah, honestly, t-shirts are cool.
There's loads of other stuff up there now as well.
Actually going
I've added some things to the store. You can buy a mouse mat and a beanie hat or a cap if t-shirts aren't your thing. I can't remember what else I put on there.
You can. I may actually genuinely. I think I said this here. I might buy the.
Oh yeah, there's a coffee cup
thing,
thing, like a thermos one, and there's a mug as well. So lots of.
I don't know though. If I buy it, then does that put the money back in my own? Am I paying for my own hand jobs?
Well, you've got hands. You don't have to pay for that.
Hands that do dishes.
If you want it to feel like, if you want to pretend it was a listener's donation, the old sit on your hand adage. But yes, if you buy something from the store, yes, that money would go into our Gino PayPal. So you would be funding towards that ourselves. So yeah, if you want to buy a coffee cup, go.
And actually, we're going to throw something else into the bargain as well for t-shirt buyers.
Well, actually, we should probably put it out to any merchandise actually, rather than just t-shirt buys. If you buy something from the merch store, send us a photo with you wearing it, holding it, sitting on it, using a mouse on it,
drinking out of it.
Or post it on our Facebook page or to our group or on Instagram, Twitter. Any way you can get in contact with us to show that you've bought it, and we will send you some stickers in the post, which has been kindly donated by Freddie.
Yeah, Freddie the Swede has he's done a beautiful job of putting our logo on there. We've got our logo, the Gino the half bucket logo, and we've also got some of our bullshit and bad hobby advice stickers as well that you can see on some of the Facebook groups. So let us know those things, and we will make sure we'll send you some crap out as well. And I might even have a raid around the hobby room and see if I can find things to send you. Polaroid. I've got a Polaroid camera somewhere. I could do some Polaroids.
This is if we run out of the stickers, people.
Yeah. Get in quickly, because if you're still sending pictures in a couple of months, you might be just getting my personal Polaroids. We actually spotted the first T-shirt in the wild, didn't we?
Yeah, and before we even announced this, we'd already discussed doing this, sending out stickers. But so Paul from Reading, who is _Ranko on Instagram, follows us now. We follow him. Posted a picture up of him wearing one of the nice slim fit T-shirts. No, it's Tom and I wouldn't be ordering the slim fit T-shirts. Our tummies are a little bit too poorly for that. I know it's a slim fit because I can see what we sold in the store, and we've only sold slim fit so far, so we obviously got very trim listeners. But very nice it looked too.
Beautiful listeners.
But yeah, we messaged him when he sent us that picture because we thought it was really nice and really awesome. And he just thanked us for the beginner episodes that we did. It said it helped him out loads, returning to the hobby after a long time. So he was happy to sort of return the favour and buy a T-shirt. And obviously we don't expect people to buy things just because we've helped them out with the heresy stuff. But buy T-shirts if you want to. Buy mouse mats if you need a mouse mat. Buy a coffee cup if you need a coffee cup. Just help us out. Buy crap. If you don't want any crap, we do, but you still want to help us out, and we do have a PayPal donate button, and the links in our pinned post on Facebook. I think on Facebook, on our page, you have to go to posts and look at the top, because I think the main page now doesn't show the pinned page anymore. It's also it's a bit of a pain now. They've changed some settings or something. It doesn't matter what you do, the pinned page isn't at the top when you first go there. You actually have to click on posts, which is a bit weird. In our group as well, if you click on the pinned post in our group, which has got the group rules, it's also got all the links on there where to listen and how to find our T-shirt stores and our PayPal links and things like that. So yeah, if you just want to give us a quid or something like that and you don't want to buy any merchandise, then that would be greatly appreciated as well. If you send us a photo of you holding a quid that you're about to link to, we probably won't send you any stickers though. If you don't.
I don't know, if the pound's on the end of your billy, I might send you a sticker.
Ooh. Don't be careful. Be careful what you ask for on the internet, Tom. I think we don't.
I know. I probably have. Like I said to you, you manage the email, so I'm never going to see them.
I'll make sure you see them. Don't you worry.
I should probably mention. I think I mentioned it last time, but the event for the next in the Tarsus series is up. So on our Facebook page, you can go to our events and find the Facebook group for Tarsus 4, the taking of Nervia Glenesium. I can't actually fucking say it. It's my event. It's Glenesium. Never Glenesium. Basically, I put the event up for the dates, so it's going to be a 2-dayer down at Incom again. 23rd and 24th of September. I am trying to finalise the rules pack now, but the general gist is it will be 2,500 points. It will be 1,000 point Zone Mortalis as well. You will need to bring both armies, because over the course of the weekend you will need to play at least one of each of the styles of game, because we want everyone to play Zone Mortalis. We're going to have 6 Zone Mortalis tables available, and actually I'm building more scenery for it now, and I discovered as I was doing it, we've got like walkways and stuff, so we're going to have multi-level Zone Mortalis, so it won't just be Zone Mortalis in a side of a bunker. There's going to be an industrial complex with walkways, so you'll be able to go up and over and back down, and it's going to work in different levels. It'll all be tight. It's basically going to be amazing. We've got so much scenery and stuff to build. I think we've got something like £1,000 worth of Zone Mortalis tables to build and scenery to go on it. So it's going to be nuts. We're going to have an absolutely amazing Zone Mortalis section as well. So you're going to have both forces. It's going to be a narrative event, as we've done before, loyalists versus traitors. I am allowing at the moment pretty much every force organisation out there, bar Leviathan, because Should we have Leviathan or not, Stu? Do you want Titans? I don't know. Maybe you just go.
I can't. Do we want people to bring them? Why not? I think it's going to be a narrative event. If people want to bring it, I think they should just shoot us an email, and then we'll look at the balance of the armies around. Because if they bring one, they probably need an alternative list as well.
That's what I was going to suggest that maybe we might allow a Leviathan, but I might say bring an army with you as well. Because what I don't want you to do is turn up with your Warlord Titan and nobody wants to play you because we can't, So we're gonna. But the only other restriction I put is you can't have Primarchs chosen for your Zone Mortalis force, just because I think that's a bit much sometimes. But bring your Shattered Legions, bring your armies of Dark Compliance, bring your militias. We're not having primary detachments for demons. You can bring demons as allies for your Imperial cults or your Word Bearers at the moment. Basically, Tarsus 4 has not fallen that far to chaos yet. When we get Angelus, when we go on, we may do something. But yeah, that's the basis. It'll be similar reflection in terms of our prizes. It'll be painting prizes. They'll be playing like not being a dick when you're playing prizes. And we are going to have the Saga of Legend running again for the weekend. Bring your best story and a big readout at the end. I like that. I enjoyed that thoroughly last year. So we're going to do that. But yeah, that's the general gist of what we're doing. Very important question to clear up, which everybody wants to know straight away. As per Alan Bly's comments, we will be house ruling that you can fucking well multi-bomb, but your knights can't shoot their own cock off. At the moment, I haven't thought about what we're going to do about this stupid Nike fire arc at the moment because there's no kind of way around that at the moment. I might have to have a think about that, but yeah, we'll be multi-bombing as well because multi-bombing is for babies. We're going to do that. So cool, yeah, that's the general gist. I will have the rules pack and tickets out hopefully within the next week or so. Stu, you need to read it. That's the problem.
Have you sent it to me?
It's on Google Docs. It's been shared with you for 2 months. Yeah, so I just need to check it. But that's all. I've got to firm up some details with Chip at Incom. Got to just make sure it makes some sense because Stu usually goes through and goes, no, you can't get 8 games of 3.5k in 25 minutes. Don't be a dickhead. You need some time. So he's going to sanity check it for me. And it will be a fully painted event only. What did I put in there? I think what did I say
something
about
rude,
painting?
Probably, I imagine.
I think I elaborated on my fully painted or fuck off, but any model as well as any unit or squadron that it is part of not finished to the standard required will be subject to the hatred rule by all other opposing players' armies. So if it's not painted, if you haven't finished that one model in the squad, the whole squad suffers hatred. So I know people are going to bitch and whinge at me, but that's what I want to do. It's my event. If you don't like it, don't come.
Absolutely.
Paint your
shit. Got loads of time as well. We're talking about September here.
Yeah, this is one of the other reasons. We're talking. You've got 6 months. I know some. I've already had a couple of messages from people going, "Yeah, I'm going to start a new army for it," which is awesome. So yeah, jump on Facebook, jump in the group. That it will be the first place that things are announced out there. Will be into the Geno pages and the Tarsus event. I will be make sure I'm on for that. I'm looking at potentially 30 players. I've got 18 said they're definitely, they want to come already. We've got 37 who are keeping an eye out on it. So, I'm going to blow my own trumpet here. I think it's going to sell pretty well when it goes. So we'll keep your eyes peeled if you're interested in that. Sweet. Should we go to a technical break?
Yeah, we'll go to a break, and when we come back, it will be we'll be with Sam, and you'll get a much more balanced, reasoned talk about the weekend and stuff. So,
have fun. We'll catch you in a minute, guys.
G52 is sponsored by Incom Gaming, the new centre for tabletop wargaming in Gloucestershire. Visit incomgaming.co.uk for great savings on pre-orders and all your hobby needs. We stock many gaming systems and hobby accessories and can ship to anywhere in the UK. Incom Gaming is the only UK stockists of the market-leading gaming mats from GameMats.eu. Visit the store and check out how to turn your tabletop into a battlefield. Incom Gaming is based in the centre of Cheltenham and offers tables and scenery for casual and organised play with a fully licensed bar. Check out our events page for upcoming events where everyone is welcome. Save an additional 10% on Games Workshop Heresy products by using the code G52 at the checkout. Visit incomgaming.co.uk and help fight the betrayal. Incom Gaming. Come game, shop, drink. To shop elsewhere is heresy.
Welcome back then, guys. We're lucky enough to be joined by Sam Perkins, who you may remember from a few episodes ago. He's come on to chat Weekender with us. So I'm getting a bit confused, to be perfectly honest with you, because we recorded this show over 2 nights
Well, it was
now.
only last night, Tom, so you should be able to remember.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but we recorded the end section. I don't know. I'm in a confusion. So
Right.
I'm actually drinking
listeners,
now.
Tom is
I've been
drinking. So if
sober
you wonder
yeah.
why he sounds drunk in the middle of the show but sober at the end, it's because we recorded the end yesterday. But some of the end, but we might do a bit more of the end today as well, because just to confuse you all.
So over the course of the 2 or 3 hours of this show, I'm going to go from sober to drunk again. So yeah. Anyway, you didn't come on to talk about my drinking habits, but we come on to talk Weekender. So welcome, Sam.
Hi guys, how you doing?
We're good.
Yeah, good, but
I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one drinking this evening, midweek on a Tuesday. We'll get this together. It's fine.
I had a Monday to dry out, and I've started again today. So I sat there really. I thought I gotta record again tonight. I'm really tired. Oh fuck it, here we come. And I looked around the house and was like, what have we got? My choice was between a bottle of Kraken rum or some slow vodka my mate left at my house 2 years ago, and I thought, I really don't think that vodka is going to be any good.
Sounds potent.
I haven't been absolutely slated on social media for my choice of cola. I've got cheap Audi cola, and I'm getting absolutely slated for cheaping out on the Coke front. But it's the housemate. She's in charge of shopping and she's the galley staff as well. So I'm going to blame her in wholeheartedness. As she's in Scotland at the moment and can't hear me saying that.
She can read all the comments though. She's already commented on your on the Facebook post, doesn't she? You'll be in trouble when she gets back.
Yeah, she knows what time I've got to get up tomorrow. So she knows that drinking is probably not a great idea. But there we go. We'll crack on. So, as we've alluded to, Sam, you were lucky enough to attend the Forge World Weekender this weekend, weren't you, for the Horus Heresy?
Yeah, it was indeed. Pretty good weekend overall, I think.
Yeah. I was going to say, you're one of the elite few.
Yeah, one of 350 supposedly, I think.
Did it feel? I know there's some complaints last year about it feeling overcrowded. Was it better this year, or?
It was okay this year. It was busy, but it was nowhere near as bad as it was last year.
That's was it 400 last year?
To be honest, I think it was more than that.
450. They knocked 100 off, I think.
Jeez.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, whatever the amount was, there was way too many people. But yeah, this year overall, the number of people they had, I think, was quite nice. I think they slightly underestimated the amount of people they'd have again this year. I'll go into more details about that later on. But yeah, overall a really nice weekend, as you can imagine. Prospero themed overall.
Yeah, very much so.
But yeah, a vast improvement on last year.
Excellent. What do you think about the Friday night?
Excellent.
Was that a good idea? Did you make it down for the Friday? Was it a good idea?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get a room in the Belfry the Friday night. So having that early registration and the early sale stand was a brilliant idea, because I got there about sort of 6 o'clock in the evening, and by the time I got there, most people had already registered, bought their stuff, and there were still plenty of things around. I got registered, and then the Saturday morning, then for everybody else that wasn't staying in the Belfry hotel, they all came through, and the queues were more organised, and they weren't as long, and I think just overall everybody had a much better experience.
definitely took the pressure off Saturday morning. I remember a lot of comments on that. It was like Saturday morning felt like a fight and a scrum to try and get your stuff bought and get to the first seminar. So it definitely felt like a more relaxed space.
Yeah,
for a lot of people.
definitely. I mean, last year, I think I remember sort of getting up about 7:30, 8 o'clock to start sort of queuing up to try and get some of the pre-releases and get myself registered.
Yeah.
And this year I actually had a chance to have breakfast in the morning. You're
Far
paying
more
for it.
civilized.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a nice hotel, isn't it? So
it's
if
much
you
better.
paid for all of that, it's not cheap either. You want to make the most of it, and it's busy and it's intense, but it should be relaxed as well. So you shouldn't want to feel like you're rushing around. So I think it sounds like a good idea. It was a good idea. We talked about this earlier in the show as well, but it's a good. It seems to be better for those of us at home as well, because what it meant was all the book chat was all Friday night, and then it didn't overtake the Saturday and Sunday, so when the seminars and all the news came out from the seminars and the model releases, that wasn't mixed in with all of the book rule chat as well, so it kind of it meant it was easier to digest all the information that was coming out, and with the community page putting out stuff as well, it just seemed like it was delivered better, not only to you guys but to the people that weren't there, who actually knew what was going on. It felt like we could kind of follow it. So it seems like they've done a much better job of it. But so how do we want to do this? Do you want to sort of talk to us about your overview of the whole weekend, or do you want to sort of talk about favourite seminars? What sort of approach would you like to take, Sam, rather than us just sort of telling you what to do?
We could do a bit of a mixture of both, to be honest. I mean, if you guys have got,
and we can just jump in and ask questions when we feel. But otherwise, we might not ask you the right things. We might miss out on stuff. So we're not being lazy at all. No, so we can sit back and drink my cup of tea and listen to you talk, and Tom can get drunk and and fall asleep.
I've drunk quite an alarming amount of Kraken already, so I think I'm on to my fourth rum already, and I've only been drinking an hour. So I may well fall asleep.
I'll try not to bore you too much then.
So take us through from Friday night then, and when you got down there, and what the vibe was, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so as I said, got there about sort of 6 o'clock Friday evening. Fortress stand was already set up, with all the pre-releases and everything else they had on sale. Went in, sort of got myself registered, picked up the new book. Why wouldn't you, obviously? And the new exclusive model they've got for this year, the Legio Custodes Tribune Ixion Hail.
Is he worth? Sorry, Sam. Is that worth £45 in your opinion? That model. I like the model, but I saw the price tag and went, oh.
Absolutely not. No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think there's.
It's a lovely model.
Yeah. I don't think there's any reason why that couldn't have been put in a normal plastic clan pack and sold to, say, sort of £25.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was sort of thrown into a character series box.
It's a proper. Because he hasn't got named rules, has he? He hasn't got a.
No, he hasn't.
Rules for him sitting down.
Which is which is better than
usual. The toilet
zero movement. Yeah. He can hit you if he can reach you with his spear, but no, he's since we were talking earlier in the show, as it's a different day, I saw that he was available in Warhammer World store at the moment. They've obviously got stock left, so all of you who have purchased one on eBay for 2 or 3 times the retail price. Oh dear. Sorry, that sounds horrible, doesn't it? But I think that's annoyed a few people who picked it up, especially, and now realise that it's on normal sale.
Custodes Dreadnought all over again, isn't it? Where they were selling for multiple times the amount of the price, and 2 weeks later they were readily available.
Well, that was always going to be, isn't it? It's always, I mean, I'm not going to go off on one about scalpers. I'm not too. We talked about that with the tickets, and I think that's a bit different. But when it comes to the models, if it's something that's just a pre-release, they're pretty quick at releasing stuff afterwards these days. So more for you if you pay over the odds for it. To be honest with you.
Well, to be fair, I took my one to the till, and the guy who served me said, "Oh, just the one." I said, "What do you mean, just a fucking one? What do I need multiples of this guy for?" You know? And he was like, "Oh, conversions and stuff." I was like, "Yeah, mate, a £45, you're having a laugh." Yeah, just the one will do. Thank you very much.
You could do a whole line of cubicles around them for a diorama, couldn't you? That's a.
I did like the fact that the image of Max going up and getting. I think he went and got 4 copies of Inferno for various people to help with, and I did like the idea of him placing 4 copies of Inferno down and going, "Yeah, they're all for me."
No.
To be fair,
I will actually say, to be fair to Max, he's bought them for me, Freddie the Swede and Sean from CZ Initiative. He's done a fucking awesome job getting it for us, and I think I've slung him a few quid for beer money in the end, just as a generous favour. He has not been scalping on it. He's done a top job helping us out there.
Good on him.
he was lucky to get that many, to be fair, because I think they were trying to implement the whole sort of one per customer thing, which they always say they'll do, and then when you get to the till, it's always never the case.
Well, apparently they upsell.
I think, to be fair, I think he got he got the one on the Friday for himself, and then Saturday morning, when they were being a bit more loose and flexible, he did go and get 3 more. 3 more.
Yeah, they were stamping the tickets. They were just basically to tell me whether or not you'd bought one on the Friday. I don't think there was any of that going on Saturday.
One each on the Friday gives everybody the opportunity to buy one, relatively speaking, and then Saturday.
Yeah, well, it's fair. It's fair enough as long as they
much.
haven't put too many out. If they, there's 350 tickets. If they had taken 600 odd books along and sold them all, then all they're doing is hurting their own sales, because all the people that won't be buying them directly from their web store won't be adding anything else to the cart at the same time. It's bad retail, but if it's only a few extra, so they've got 400 or 500 or something, it's not the end of the world. If people want to pay 500 quid for one, then yeah, fair enough.
I mean, they are retailing for 200 quid on eBay as we speak.
Well, with
if you want to go
4
and
to
spend
5
that
week
money.
wait, they've said, haven't they? Potentially, I don't know whether that's true or not, but if there is that long, people are going to pay that for it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't see why. I mean, I had a friend who actually attended the event with me, and I asked him. So he doesn't play. He doesn't play Thousand Suns. He doesn't play Space Wolves, but he does like the books. And I said to him, "You're going to get a copy." And he said, "Well, what's the point?" I spent all day on Facebook on Friday, and he practically had the entire content.
Yeah.
We've got
quite a bit.
So,
Just from.
I'm looking here. Top 4 results on eBay. Inferno, 200 quid buy it now. 100 quid on bids. 193 quid with 16 bids. And 200 quid buy it now. So the going price needs to be 200 quid on eBay for it. Like you said, I think if you were just practically, if you go on Facebook, you can get all the rules you need. And if you are a collector, just wait a month or 2 and it'll be out, and pay 80 quid instead of 180 quid.
Yeah, it is what it is. I haven't got too much of a problem. I don't like scalping, so to speak, but I don't get annoyed with people when they're selling stuff that's going to be on normal release. I think it's when they're making sort of money out of things that people have no way of getting. I think that's that's where it gets a bit low. This is just this is market value, really, isn't it? I don't like it. I wouldn't do it, and I don't think it's a nice thing to do. But I don't get so offended about it like I did with because there's a difference between scalpers and ticket touts, isn't there? I think that's what we were talking about with the tickets on a few shows back. For me, they're slightly different, but yeah.
Yeah, when you've got something in limited numbers, I think that's when it's pretty bad. But I mean, to be fair to Forge, they're absolutely fantastic this year. They did bring a lot of the exclusive stuff with them. They made damn sure that they didn't bring just a handful of Domitars like they did last year.
There was only like 15 Domitars.
It literally. I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't about that amount. It wasn't. It wasn't great.
It was like they sold out before half the people had realised they were on sale.
That's not good.
Yeah,
they should probably do what Privateer Press do is they release, if they can have enough stock. This is limited edition models are available on the web store when they have big events, 2 or 3 times a year. So you can buy it online at that time, and it gets shipped to you. But as soon as that event's over, it's off the web store again. And they make loads of money from it, as you can imagine. But I suppose whether they, depends whether they can keep up with the demand.
Sorry,
Sam. I interrupted you. Anyway, we hijacked you. You only got as far as buying your stuff, and we've just talked for 15 minutes. We let you carry on.
Yeah, no problem. I can't remember where it was. Yeah, I picked up my purchases. I tried to to buy some Solar Auxilia stuff. This is my only gripe with the sales stand. They did not bring any Solar Auxilia stock whatsoever, and I was, pretty miffed. I had some sort of spare cash that I'd taken with me specifically for this event, and I didn't really want to fill out a bloody free order form. When I had some sort of free postage vouchers at home that I could use anyway.
Yeah.
Friday
Yeah, you
night
could have ordered them at home and not worried about it.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to sort of go in with a nice weighty bag of new
crack
resin crack. Yeah. So I didn't pick up anything there for my army.
Fair enough.
But that's how it goes. I think to be fair to them, probably based on their own sales stats, they could probably see that Solar Auxilia are probably not the most popular thing they're likely to sell at the event. I mean, they had loads of custode stuff. I mean, tons of custode stuff. Mostly marine armies.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they didn't bring any Tau battle suits or Eldar Wraith Knights this year. I think they learned from that mistake.
They learned that one. Yeah, I mean, if you've got to prioritise, I imagine they've only got X amount of stuff they can bring with them in vans in terms of logistics. Yeah. You're probably going to prioritise Legion stuff, but it is a shame, I mean, their system of, if we can't get it for you now, we'll post it to you for free, does get around Stu's favourite 12% postage system, but yeah, I can see why. So, cool, yeah, you got your stuff then, and what was Friday night like then? Was it sort of everyone back to their rooms, or were there people hanging out?
Friday night, yeah, but there's a lot of people hanging about in the bar. Quite a lot of the people I knew, sort of friends and whatever, weren't actually sort of coming down until the Saturday morning. So I'll be honest, I had quite an early night, the Friday night.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, that was that really for Friday.
You didn't decide to get banned from Ford. Didn't decide to get banned from Bugman's Bar with Max then.
Really? No, I didn't hear about
that. Him and Phil got. I don't think they got banned. They got told they weren't going to get served any more beer on the Friday in Warhammer World.
Brilliant. That's excellent doing.
Cool. So no, Saturday cracks on then, and what was your first plan then? Did you hit the seminars?
So yeah, having already pre-registered and bought all my stuff, I had my opportunity to have the breakfast that I'd paid for. I went to the opening seminar, which was the event introduction.
Cool.
Which is pretty good, with all the Forgewood staff. Tony Cottrell was there. No Laurie Goulden this year, obviously, with him having left Black Library. So forgive me, whoever you were, but there was a new person on the block that was sort of helping present the event. I think it was somebody from sort of the Games Workshop events team. And then after that, it was the seminars and the rest of the other events, so to speak, sort of commencing. So the first one they did was the Burn of Prospero. Basically a big chat with Tony Cottrell, Alan Bly and John French about the new book. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get into that seminar, and this is where things started to go downhill. So basically, gone.
Yeah, so I was going to say, go run us through the issues.
So basically too many people wanted to go into the seminar that they didn't have seats for. So unfortunately, they had to prevent a certain number of people from basically going to the seminar. But Forge were pretty proactive this year. They addressed that issue pretty soonish, because for those listeners that have never been to the Belfry, the actual sort of seminar rooms that they host the chats in, the sizes are adjustable. So what they did was they basically took one of the walls down into one of the rooms next door, put down a load more seats, and then that basically solved that issue for the rest of the weekend. And they did do a sort of really quick run through of the Bernard Prospero chat later on the Saturday day. Yeah, it was pretty good. But sadly, I didn't get to see that anyway because I was somewhere else.
Sounds like they were taken a bit by surprise then about exactly how many people wanted to come in. Which, if it was me, it's my event, and I knew there were 350 tickets, I'd have made sure there were 350 seats in the room. But that's to me, that's the way I'd look at it. Maybe they, with experience, know that's.
Or you make it 3-day and run every seminar twice. That's an option, isn't it? I suppose there's quite a few things I could do.
Well, if Sam's saying they've got adjustable rooms, I'd make sure the room could seat 350 and work on the basis that I'd rather have a big room and half fill it than have people standing around outside, especially after last year's comments, where a lot of the public comments were the fact that people couldn't get to seminars was a real pain. Just make life easy. Say put 350 chairs in there, and if they're half empty, great, whatever. But so at least everybody can come away saying, well, yeah, we saw everything we wanted to see.
Well, I think one of the things with this year that was different to last year is that what let it down last year was obviously the organisational part to it. It was just a bit of a mess. There was too many people there, but the content was good. Whereas this year it was the other way around, I feel. So the seminars were they were okay in terms of content, and then for those people listening that haven't or heard of what usually goes on at the Horse Heresy weekends, you've got like a breakdown during the day, and at set times they've got different events on at different rooms. So one of the main seminar rooms is you've got your seminars, and in the room next door then you may have like there might be a gaming room where you can go in with your own army, you can play some games. There's an art room where you can get the art, your artists sign in, and you can purchase sort of pieces of art done by Neil Roberts, for the Horus Heresy novels, and you can have him sign it, or meet the guys that did the art in the Black Books. And then you've got what's called the Scribe Station, where you've got sometimes the authors are sat in. This year, rather than one of the more popular rooms is the hobby room, where you have people like Mark Bedford giving like a live painting demonstration. This year it was very much a case of just sort of, they had like loads of members from the Forge World studio sort of sat around their desks, a bit like at the Forge World Open Day, sort of chatting about their recent miniatures they've sculpted, or miniatures they've painted, and rules and things like that. There was no exclusive sort of Mark Bedford is going to be painted this at this time, so everybody's going to sit around that table. He's going to have a camera on him and a TV screen, and he's going to talk through how, for example, he paints Imperial Fists or something like that. There was none of that this time round, so people sort of quickly sort of had a walk around, sort of had a quick chat to everybody, sort of looked at what was in the cabinets, all the new models and stuff, and then after that the hype for that died down. Everybody just wants to go to the seminars.
No real structure to anything going on out there.
Not so much. There wasn't any structure. It was just sort of like there wasn't anything there to divert anybody's attention away from the seminars, really, to be honest. And because of that, then obviously everybody wanted to go to the main room, and subsequently there wasn't any seats. However, like I said, they addressed that. But so the second seminar I went to around about lunchtime was one called The Road to Terror, which basically was a seminar with James Swallow, Guy Haley, and John French, and they were talking about the books they've been writing, and basically focusing on where the road to terror will lead. So, some of the key protagonists in the heresy, and the writers' perspectives for that. And I've got to give it to the writers. They did this seminar pretty well, but none of them could really talk to us about the seminar subject, because they weren't sort of given the freedom to talk about what they were actually writing about.
Right. So we're going to have a seminar which basically all the answers are, I can't tell you about that. I can't tell you about that. I can't tell you about that.
Yeah, that's certainly how it came across. Initially, but to be fair to the writers, they did handle it pretty well, and they got the conversation and the chat flowing about things they'd already written, and how the heresy itself had changed some of the lead protagonists in the heresy, people like the Primarchs and Garrow and what have you, and things like that. Overall, I mean, I don't want to say anything negative, but it was an okay seminar. I was expecting more about it. I was really looking forward to hear, what they were writing about, potential sneak peeks of new books that would be coming out. I wanted to find out what was going on with Garrow and people like that. But Yeah, obviously the writers unfortunately can't talk about any of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, not to worry.
It'd be nice to have a hint or two, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want every answer, but just a couple of tidbits to walk away from would have been nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just something to get everybody a bit excited, just a little taster, to have people feeling really enthusiastic about it all. But yeah, it was very much an overview of things that were already written.
I was going to say, I don't
basically.
think was there any new information? It was just books we already kind of knew that were in the works, wasn't it? Was there any new books announced? When I looked through the list, I think I'd heard of them all. Maybe not Talan.
Yeah,
I didn't know about the
nothing
Talan being
new.
all been put in one anthology, but I suppose that's not really new storyline. But everything else, I think, was titles that they'd already talked about on other podcasts and interviews and things as well. So I was hoping as well for a bit more information on how many books there might be, or whether there's going to be another title released, because I think they've announced sort of about 3 or 4 books that take us up to about 47 or 48 or something like that already.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's I suppose they're right at that stage now where they really can't let anything slip, because it's pretty close to the end. So
Yeah.
Fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah, that's one of the things they did say, was that they're all very busy. They're all working on books now. Sort of they feel like they filled the middle bit, and they are, in their own words, starting the beginning of the end. And from what they said, there is a lot of other authors as well that are also working on stories. I think Dan Abnett's name was mentioned, so I got pretty excited about that. I'm not sure if Graham McNeil is doing anything, on the side, because I know obviously he's left sort of Blackberry as well, and he's moved to the US of A. But yeah, overall, an okay seminar, I think. One that wasn't able to really focus on the seminar's purpose, really. However, moving swiftly on, after that, I had the choice of going to some of the rooms that I described earlier on, but I thought I'd hang about and stay for the next seminar, which was titled Talons of the Emperor, and that was Tony Cottrell, Alan Bly, and John French, all talking about basically the Legion Custodes and the Sisters of Silence and the Ordo Sinister, and basically their perspective on the rules writing for and background for all the new Imperial units we've got in Book 7. That was really good, really, really nice. It was good to sort of delve into Alan Bly's perspective of the Custodes and the Sisters of Silence and those sorts of units. It was quite funny sort of listening to Alan chat about both him and John French's sort of play testing, and how they had to keep sort of dumbing down and nerfing the Custodes rules to a sort of playable level, because originally when they started out they were just absolutely obscene. You had sort of
I had heard rumours that, I'm sure something came out before that they'd run 5 Custodes into a 20-man tack squad, and the Custodes had killed the whole squad before they'd even the attack marines had even swung, and they just they barely broke a sweat, and it was like, oh yeah, we probably need to tone that down a bit.
yeah, they used that example again, and in fact somebody in the seminar raised a question and said, Alan, I was lucky enough to be here last year, and I've been looking at your Custodes rules, and I've theory hammered 5 charging into a 20-man unit of Marines, and they don't seem to kill them all. What's going on, sort of thing. And Alan was like, well, yeah, of course they don't. I've had to tone down their rules, because if they were that powerful, then everybody would be playing them. And to be fair, they are pretty nailed.
I think we're running Tarsis at the end of September, and I'm expecting to see at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 full Custodes armies, because they're fucking batshit.
They are crazy good. And the Sisters are as well. I mean, they've got some wicked models coming out. They've got that what's that submarine thing called?
looks
They've got
amazing.
their weird
Tom
transport.
and I have already gushed over that earlier in the show. Absolutely love it. I can't, I wouldn't have even considered buying anything for them.
Fantastic model.
That's beautiful. It will be bought, unless it turns out to be 200 quid or something like that. That might take a bit longer then. But yeah, it's beautiful. Really lovely.
Let's see if I can find its name. No, it's got a really weird. That's it. The Sisters of Silence Charon Pattern Acquisitor. Basically looks like what should be a submarine or something out of Flash Gordon. But yeah, absolutely fantastic model. And the way Alan was describing it sort of got everybody in the room really wanted to buy one instantaneously. So he was saying how it's rammed full of dark age technology, tech, and how they're supposed to be extremely stealthy, and if you see one, and you're not you're the person they're after, for example you're a psycho or whatever, then there's probably a good chance you're likely to get fucked up.
That's it, you're done
pretty quickly. Yeah, pretty much. So that was the Talons of the Emperor seminar. In that, they talked about other things as well. The new Psi Titans, which they've also released rules for. They basically described how you've got a regular Warlord Titan, which isn't already powerful enough, and you fill it full of tanks. That you then fill those tanks with psychers and basically use them as batteries to power the Titan, and how then that Titan can then sort of use that raw psychic energy to create its own powers and
people
weaponry.
were worried about D weapons.
It's just absolutely.
Let's get a psychic 30 hull point D weapon carrying. But was it 3,750 bullets?
Something ridiculous like that.
But I mean, if somebody somebody said to me, said, look, I've built one, I painted it, I want to come to Tarsus. I say, look, probably bring another list with you so you can play it, but I will make sure you get a game with that. I'll make sure you get a go with it, because that is just it. It's so cool.
It's a hell of a model, but hell of a rule set as well. I mean, Alan was describing how the only being that could pilot it would be a bit like the Sisters of Silence. They've got that. Is it the Null gene or something like that? The actual pilot of the Titan has to be somebody with the Null gene, because if any normal human would try and step inside it, the sheer psychic backlash caused by the dying psychers in its battery tanks would just blow the minds of the person trying to pilot it.
I'm not up with the Sisters rules as much as I should be. I have had a read through. Would they shut the psychic Titan down? Because I know if they're within a certain distance of psychers, they really screw them up. Would they actually shut the Titan down?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You bring your psychic Titan 3,700 points worth of machine, and I'm going to stick a 90 point Sister of Silence squad by it and shut your Titan down.
That's an interesting point, actually.
Yeah, I could see some serious salt going on there.
Let's have a look. I've got book 7 here with me, and let's have a quick look. Right. Looking at the rules here, unfortunately, it looks as though the Titan would just act normally. However, the Titan doesn't actually count as a psyker, which is pretty horrendous. No.
Does it generate? If you take that on your own, then does that mean you only generate D6 warp charge points for it?
Yeah,
because you only get D6 plus your mastery
it's
level.
It's most powerful. Yeah, that's a bit unusual.
Does it have a mastery level?
Does it what?
It comes just with. Because I know the Titan comes with its own 3 powers, but does the Titan actually have a mastery level?
No.
So it doesn't. In theory, doesn't generate any.
Oh yeah, no, yes it does. Yeah, it's got a psychic mastery level of 3.
Oh, fair enough. I was going to say, I was like, shit. How? Can you imagine that? You get your psychic Titan, you get your D6, and you roll a 1. Oh fuck! I'm screwed. That's what it says. Actually,
was trying to find the rules then, but it's difficult because you've got 3 like full pages of text, for this Titans rules. But the way they've done it in the book is that you've got your typical Warlord Titan 2-page spread, with all its sort of normal rules. Apart from sort of a few name tweaks, a bit like, okay, well, why is this one why is this one any different to a normal Warlord? And they're charging you sort of 3,250 points for it, and then you turn the page and you've just got another massive wall of text of just various psychic powers.
There we go. That
can
whole
be
page.
Absolute filth. But yeah. I'm sure you guys are gonna cover sort of the rules for some of the new units, probably in another show over the next coming weeks. We probably won't go too much into that.
Probably 3 or 4 shows lined up with different lists and coverage and all kinds of stuff. But it's gonna be a lot of content to get through that book, I think.
Yeah.
So what came up after that one then?
So after that, I decided to have a take a nose round the Golden Demon entries, actually.
Very nice.
Not forgetting that there was a sort of Horus Heresy themed Golden Demon at the event. So they had the same area as last time, same cabinets as well. So the lighting wasn't great, but as you could probably see from the photos I sent you guys on the Sunday, those photos were literally the best I could do.
Yeah, I've seen those
available.
cabinets. Yeah, I saw those cabinets. I think they're the same cabinets at the open day, and I'm so glad they get the models out to judge them, because they're terrible. The lighting in them is awful.
It's a bit odd, isn't it, considering how many times they use them to display
they're
models, and they've got, they use them in the same venue sometimes as they got their whole museum full of properly lit models. They've got a bit of experience doing it. It makes you wonder why they don't just invest in a good setup for these things, because it would add so much more. Considering it's almost becomes an exhibit at that all the fans are bringing their own stuff to. So it's a shame they don't actually think, let's put some good lights in it, because I think so many people are interested in it, especially from Heresy point of view, because it's much more hobby and modelling focused than some of the other games. But so anyway, so you obviously entered a couple of pieces, but talk us through what you saw. What sort of things stood out to you?
Yeah, so when I think it was probably last time I was on the show, I was sort of talking about having an entry for every category, and I was sort of really keen to sort of get some really different Golden Demon entries in for this specific event. But suddenly none of that happened. Real life got in the way, and I just did not have the time to be able to commit to doing even one, sort of different Golden Demon entry. So I entered 2 stuff again from my army. This time it was one of my Sons of Horus Lightnings that I've got. Did a bit of work to that, sort of in the little time I had available. Sort of added a few extra details, added a bit of freehand and stuff onto that. And I entered something that I did for one of my test pieces for my Solar Auxilia I did a few months ago. It was a Limrus tank. So I entered the Limrus into the vehicle category, which was, I think, probably the fiercest category again for the event, and I entered my Lightning into the open category, but overall probably about the same amount of entrants this year, I think, as well as last year. Most popular category being the vehicle category.
That's a fierce category.
Oh my god, yeah, there were some absolutely stunning entries in there. Start from the top, really. I mean, Richard Gray had his stunning Warhound Titan.
Insane Warhound,
Yeah, just alien, ability to paint crazy freehand. And if anybody who's listening that hasn't seen that, go on, Instagram or Facebook or something, and I can guarantee you will find images of it. Believe it or not, there were loads of other entrants as well that were, just as good. Very, very good entrants for the competition. I think you had I've forgotten his surname. There was Neil.
Chalice?
What's his surname? Yeah, Neil Chalice. I think he entered
Is Leviathan
a really, really good, really nicely blended Night Lord's Leviathan.
It's Hollis, isn't it?
Subtle
It's Neil
conversions
Hollis,
on.
I think.
Hollis?
Yeah.
Neil Hollis, yeah.
That's it. Sorry, Neil.
Entered that Leviathan. Again, absolutely stunning entry. Joe Wesley entered a gorgeous Emperor's Children, Sakara and
I've
Venator.
seen that.
It says a lot when that. Did Joe get a pin? He got
Joe
a pin
did get
for
a
that.
pin.
When that Sakarian 2 or 3 years ago, that had taken, I think that had at least got a fight. That would have got a demon, if not the gold, a couple of years ago. The talent, the level of skill, to me, seems to have just keeps going up and up in the especially categories like vehicle just seems to be going up and up.
Yeah,
and up
I think the bar every year just gets raised higher. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really does. Yeah, I mean, what else was there in the vehicle category that was just blew my mind? I'm trying to think now. There was a gorgeous World Eaters Leviathan. In sort of a weird, I say weird, sort of more up to date sort of paint scheme.
Mid heresy red, wasn't
rather
it?
than the typical blue and white. That was really neat, really painted in sort of quite a heavy metal-esque style. I'm looking at the pictures now of what was in the cabinet just to remind myself, because there were so many entrants into the vehicle category. I simply can't remember all of them.
Vehicle's pretty fierce, isn't it, Sam? Cy Davis's Malcador only got a pin, I think, and that is a beautiful model.
Yeah, it was. It was really disappointing, actually. I mean, because the lighting in the cabinet is a bit iffy, and there was so many entrants into the vehicle category that it practically filled one whole cabinet up itself. A lot of entries got put right at the bottom shelf, and I don't think they tend to get noticed that well. I mean, I tried to have a good look at Cy's Malcador, because I've seen pictures of it online, and I think it's really, really nice. And I just couldn't get close enough to see it properly.
Yeah, you've got to. So the bottom shelf, you've got to be on your knees almost to see it, haven't you?
Yeah, because obviously the lights are at the top. It's really dark down there as well, so you really couldn't see that much at all. It's a real shame, really, but I think they did move them about over the weekend. But obviously I wasn't sort of in that room constantly over there, so I probably missed it when they did. But yeah, I mean, going back to sort of some of the entries that I was talking about. I think Miles David entered a Blood Angel Leviathan with some sort of free handle on the edges. He's gone for very biblical looking medieval art.
Yeah, he's pretty insane. The free hand on that.
And so that was that was just the vehicle category. There was loads of other really, really good entrants there. I mean, if I was to list them all, I'd be here all night. But for those of you who are interested, hopefully you can find some better pictures online than the ones I took. But with any luck, by the time you're listening to this, hopefully the official pictures will be up as well, so you'll be able to see the models in much greater detail. In the single figure category, again hotly contested. A lot of special characters, a lot of Primarchs. Overall, not as many entrants. Danny Nuttall had a fantastic Malagus the Twisted.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. That's beautiful.
Using the Narek Draeger Pravian model. He converted that up with a really, really nice freehand banner, a lovely plinth actually. That was really nice. That was one of my favourites to win that category actually.
Yeah, I was quite surprised that didn't do better than it was. It was really well done, technically brilliant, and a really nice conversion as well. Yeah,
really, really good. I mean, well, when you're competing with the likes of, some of you will probably have seen it already. Neil's Slayer Sword winning Perturabo.
Oh yeah.
I don't think any of the categories really. For this weekend were easy for anybody, but yeah, so some of the entries in there were just great. It was all maroons, as you probably expect, really, at the Heresy Weekender. No solar auxilia or demons yet, I don't think. There was a really, really nice. There was a couple of Fulgrims there actually, but there was a really, really nice one painted by. What was the guy's name? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, that was really, really nice. Painting sort of really, really watercolory, sort of esque sort of paint style. It was really, really sort of high and low contrasts across the model. The purple sort of he had was really, really nice. Then moving across to the squad, again hotly contested. Matt Kane of MKA Studios, I think, stole the show with this category. I've got to be honest. These were probably my favourite entry of the entire weekend. He put in a Guilliman conversion and his own sort of scratch built suzerain squad.
Oh wow!
That he'd made from the biggest assortment of pieces I have ever heard in my life. I was lucky enough to sort of catch him just before he was putting them into the cabinet, and he sort of talked me through exactly what he used on these models. And I'd hate to imagine sort of how much the cost of the pieces would retail as in total. But each suzerain has a shield from Astra and Moloch, the Minotaurs.
Wow.
Chapter Master.
Yep.
So each individual one has one of those, and his spear. And then we've got, I'm trying to remember actually, there's just such a massive monumental list. The actual ends of their spears, he'd used tiny bits of Guilliman. The little U's for the ultramarine symbols across the bottom were all off several pieces of Guilliman. And then there was something else attached to the bottom as well. I can't for the life of me remember what they were. Then he had Palatine Children shoulder pads, and I think it was Palatine Blade legs, Blood Angel chests. What else did he have?
I'd love to see Matt's spare Bix box with all the half bits left from everything else.
Yeah, absolutely, just phenomenal. I think he used sort of some of the chapters, chapter masters, the old sort of, remember the old 40k Apocalypse. You got the Master of the Fleet, the Master of Ordnance, and the other two I can't remember what they were called. But he used those as well, and that's not even starting with Guilliman, and then Guilliman himself. Well, he went to town on. Really, really nicely done. He hollowed out the Minotaur's chaplain's helmet and sort of extended it a bit to fit a Primarch head within it. Managed to fit that over Guilliman's head, and then sort of added little sort of bits and bobs as well. Just overall, just a really, really good, stunning entry. I'm a little bit biased, obviously, because I know Matt, but seeing these sort of progress over the last few months and knowing the amount of effort and the amount of pieces and probably the amount of money he's used to make these come together is just absolutely phenomenal.
Some serious effort sunk into those models, and I mean the time and not just the actual physical time doing it, the planning of it, sitting down thinking, I want these bits and those bits and those bits, and working it all out. I mean, I suppose he's an okay painter, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not bad. I mean, he's got to win something.
He's got to win something sometime, Every time he turns up at Warhammer World, he's got to walk out with a prize, otherwise he feels a bit left out.
Well, to be fair, he usually says he's not going to enter a Golden Demon. He's like, I've got to let my friends and my students. I've got to let my students win something.
Oh, he's nice, isn't it? Nice like that,
nice.
Isn't he?
Cheers, Matt.
Cheers,
Matt. Thanks, mate. Yeah. But to be fair to him, when he does win. He does win.
Let's face it. I mean, there's the biggest endorsement of his courses. He is going out there and doing that. And him and Andy are regularly winning those kind of prizes, and that's the benefit of the courses. One of the things you pay for is to get to sit down and learn to paint with them. So there's a ringing endorsement of MKA.
Yeah, absolutely. It just suddenly sounds like a big MK circle jerk all of a sudden.
I'm supposedly I'm on some kind of retainer that I've got to mention him at least once an episode. Otherwise Matt's
got
going to
you on
evict me
commission?
from the group. Yeah, he's just going to ban me from courses if I don't mention him at least once. So I've got to get me mention in.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
there was.
So, how about Duel and Diorama then? Were they running? I can't remember all the contests.
Yeah, so they had Duel as well. Surprisingly, some people might remember from last year if it was mentioned. Duel was probably one of the quietest categories. I think last year there was only something like 4 entrants.
Yeah.
And this year there weren't that many either, really, which was quite surprising. I would have thought, people would have jumped on the opportunity to try and get as many entrants, as their entrant into the Duel as quick as possible. I think there was only probably about 6 or 7 overall.
But I think somebody had told me a wild rumor that there's like 15 or 20 for vehicle though, so that gives you a comparison of how quiet that category is.
Yeah. So overall, there wasn't many entries at all. But that doesn't mean that the quality of work was any different, to be honest. There was a number of different painters that were entering this Golden Demon for the first time. There were some wacky entries in the Duel. There was a really, really nice NMM duel with the 2 characters from the Balfour set. You've got the Ultramarine Terminator and the Wordbearer Chaplain.
Yeah.
That was quite nice. A friend of mine, Ryan Allen, entered an entry that he threw together in a week, which eventually ended up taking the gold for that category, and that was 2 ships from Battlefleet Gothic.
I saw that. It's awesome.
That he themed.
Really different, really cool.
Yeah, it was crazy. He themed it like on the Battle for Calth, so he had a Wordbearer ship sort of firing its frontal like laser cannon basically and breaking the Ultramarine ship in half. But the way he did it is so cleverly. He had like missile streaks coming out of sort of the sides of the ships, and he'd made out of like clear plastic. He'd said he sort of melted it down and stretched it and bent it into position and things like that. It just looks absolutely crazy, and the judges loved it. From what I've heard, they said it was so different from what they'd usually seen before. That was one of the reasons as to why it took the gold, basically. And then there was the open category, which, as you can imagine, had a sort of a massive assortment of various different figures. What was in that? We had sort of several individual characters. Vehicles. What else do we have, really? Pretty much, it was, to be honest, it was like an assortment of entrants that were from people who had already entered sort of the previous categories they had stuff for. And so I had my Lehman Russ in the vehicle category, so I sort of threw my lightning into that one. But yeah, again, fantastic entries in that. There was a Mastodon, which was nice to see. Rich Gray again entered his I don't know if people have seen it, the World Eater Leviathan that he did not too long ago. The three hands jaw. Andy Wardle entered his Ultramarine Praetor. Probably one of my favourite models he's done, to be honest.
Very, very quiet from Andy this year, wasn't it? Didn't see a lot of his stuff. I know he's been doing a lot of bigger scale stuff, hasn't he? He's been pushing his stuff in other ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
he's looking at other models at the moment.
Having followed his Instagram, I think he's focusing on other competitions at the moment that are outside of the Games Workshop and 30K scene. I think he's looking at painting more busts for things like Salute and various other competitions.
I think he wants the one in Europe, Eurominotaur.
I'm not sure.
Salgado, San Bastian. He went there this year and took a load of pictures. I know he was very keen on, which is definitely more kind of bigger scale models and busts, wasn't it? So I think that's what he's looking at the moment.
Yeah. Pardon me. So that was Golden Demon overall. There wasn't a large figure category. Pardon me. Oh, that's the booze. There wasn't a large figure category like I was expecting, but overall, a pretty packed out Golden Demon. To be fair.
Yeah, pretty. Heresy. I think it's one of the things, isn't it? We push the painting and the hobbying quite hard in Heresy, and it's good to see that reflected at Golden Demon. I mean, the standard of entry. I'm flicking through the pictures that you kindly sent to us, and there's nothing in there that you think, oh, really? Why did you bother entering that? Most things in there look like they could have taken, on any other day, could have walked away with any of the prizes. There's nothing in there. Sometimes I've seen Golden Demon and think, someone's just bunged that in, aren't they? A bit ambitious. Whereas I'm looking through this and thinking, any of those could have walked away with a prize on a given day.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the judges as well, to be honest. I mean, it entirely depends on what they're after, really, on that particular day. I think I firmly believe in what can be probably I refer to as like a painting meta, so a bit like how you have a set list in a game that performs really well. I think over time, painting metas evolve as well. There's a particular style that people adopt and people copy, and over time the judges go, you know what, no, I'm sick of seeing that style. We're looking for something new.
Very much.
However, with that in mind, from what I've heard, from judges and friends within the company, it seems that the heavy metal team are having much more of an influence over Golden Demons now, and they're looking for entries that suit their IP, their sort of style of painting more so over some of the stuff we may have seen previously. I mean, that's not to say that you enter something that isn't in an heavy metal style and it won't get anywhere. I'm not saying that at all, but that seems to be the stuff that they look for more so.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, we've seen. I think we've seen that in the style of models that have been painted recently. The more there were comments when I think, especially when we saw the first Space Wolves and Thousand Suns painted up, and with the Prospero release, that the style had moved more towards say GW mainstream, but it's the heavy metal style as opposed from the more classic earlier Heresy Forge World style, which is a bit grittier and a
very
bit
scale model like, isn't it? Sort of,
yes, very much so.
Type of painting. Yeah, I think.
So they've got, if they're having more influence over Golden Demon, I can see it. The what they're looking for moving that way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the new influx of Forge World painters they've got as well. I mean, you can see that from some of the stuff they've released recently. Things like Russ or that Space Wolves Contemptor that's recently gone up. I think the actual Forge World paint style is changing as well. I mean, when you compare sort of stuff, the style the stuff was painted in when Matt Cain was there, to the sort of stuff we're seeing now, there's definitely a difference between the scale model style and the more cleaner heavy metal-esque sort of style.
We talked about this
so I think
before,
the actual Heresy look is changing.
We talked about this when we had you on before, about the almost the European style you're seeing a little bit more from Forge World now, and that kind of especially in some of the characters.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's natural because it's Borgia, isn't it? Borgia Garcia. I might have not pronounced his name very well there, but he's the main painter there now. He's doing a lot of these character figures, and not just the Heresy stuff, but the like Zug and some of the, I think the Blood Bowl dwarfs. He's painted those, and you can see that in the style. I think it's really nice. It's somewhere in between heavy metal and what we had before. I don't think it's so clean. Everything just flat and edge highlight. It's a kind of it's well, as I said, it's a European sort of competition style, almost in the same kind of style that you see with those busts, the stuff we were just talking about, those kind of European competitions, the different kind of things. So I really like it. I think it's really nice, sort of somewhere in between the two styles that I quite like the look of. I wish I could paint like that. We haven't actually talked about how well you did though, Sam. So we talked about it before we started recording. And Tom's got to ask you at the end of that section there, but you did quite well, didn't you?
Yeah, so I wasn't expecting anything from the competition. I've got to be honest. So I finalled with the Lim Russ I had in the vehicle category, and I took home my first bronze Golden Demon in the open category. which came as a total surprise. I really did not know what to think or say on the Sunday when I found out. To be honest, actually, when I found out, it wasn't from seeing stuff being moved about in the cabinet or whatever. I bumped into Andy Wardle as I was sort of walking around outside of the seminar rooms, and he just said, "Oh, well done, mate." And I was like, "What? What are you on about?" He said, "Oh, well done. I don't follow you. I don't really see what you're on about." He said, "Oh, well done." And he said, "You've placed." I was like, "No, I haven't. Yeah, whatever, mate. You're winding me up, sort of thing." And I genuinely thought he was just having me on, being a knob.
I can't imagine Andy being a knob about anything.
And yeah, no, I went in, and yeah, it was one of the models that they had on the table in front of them as they were trying to establish their winner for the Slayer Sword. I was totally over the moon. I still am, to be honest. I can't really work out why it happened, but yeah, totally overwhelmed by that. Really, really chuffed. Really
awesome
chuffed
stuff.
Certainly left me feeling inspired
to be fair, dude,
enter new ones in the future.
Yeah, I've seen that Lehman Russ kicking around, and it is a lovely model. You've done it. I know no painter thinks they ever do a decent job of anything, but it's hard sometimes to take praise. But fair play, dude. It is a beautiful model, a lovely model.
Yeah, it was the
Lightning,
the place, not the Lehman Russ.
Oh yeah, sorry, the Lightning. Sorry, I will say it. I'm a quarter of the way through this bottle of Kraken now, so I'm not keeping up so well. But the Lehman Russ is fucking stunning as well.
Yeah, cheers. When I had to go up to collect the trophy, they thought it was 1,000 suns lightning. Despite all the Sons of Horus eyes all over the side of it, and the fact that it was green and grey seemed to completely get past them as well. But that happens. Danny Nuttall was quick to point that out, and he hasn't seemed to have let it go yet. But yeah, it was a really, really good weekend for me, painting wise. For somebody that was but that's starting a bloody sob story. But I was really at a low with my painting this year. I didn't really know where to go with it, where to progress. And this is just sort of kicked off 2017 with a real heresy high for me. Yeah, really chuffed, really, really chuffed.
So after Golden Demon, then what else did you get up to? What else did you see?
Yeah, so after Golden Demon, what did I do? So there was during the event, like I said earlier on, there were other seminars that I didn't attend. So between myself looking at whilst I was looking at the sort of the Golden Demon entries and entering my own stuff, there was a Black Library preview event, preview seminar, where, as you could probably guess, they talked a lot about potential stuff that was coming up, including sort of a lot of artwork that was done by Neil Roberts and things like that. And obviously, because I didn't attend that actual seminar itself, I don't know much about it. But I would assume a lot of the stuff they couldn't and wouldn't talk about in the Road to Terror seminar, they've probably covered in this. I'll try and find out a bit more information for you guys as to what actually went down in that seminar, and I'll post it up in the group. But swiftly after that was the new model seminar, which everybody was pretty keen for. Everybody was queuing up way before the seminar had even started, right outside, and that was presented by Tony Cottrell and Mark Bedford. And there they had a sort of presentation displaying all of the new models that we'd seen over the weekends in the cabinets, including loads of the Custodes new models, including their heavy dreadnought, their jet bikes. What else did they have? They had the new turrets for the what's that? Sons of Horus? Not Sons of Horus. Sons of Horus in the Mind. Custodes. Yeah. The flying Sakaran.
Yeah.
The anti-tank turret for that, or version of that.
Yeah, they gave it the Venator, but the Venator equivalent turret, didn't they, for your Sakaran?
Pretty much.
Tank.
Yeah. Their heavy dreadnought that looks enormous and looks amazing. Can't wait for that. That looked like a really, really good model. Taller than the Leviathan, but I don't think it's as wide.
It's still a bit more streamlined. I've said this earlier in the show as well. I'm not a massive fan of that model. I'm sure it looks beautiful, but I don't know. I like the Custodes a bit more sleeker and a bit more streamlined. It feels a bit clunky, but I mean, I haven't seen it in real life.
I saw some more pictures after we talked about that, actually, Tom, rather than the kind of static front-on view, which is on the community site, and it does look quite thin when you can see it from the side, actually. So you can see that pic.
It's wider than it is deep.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like my eyes lights.
Oh dear.
I was waiting for a joke.
I mean, I think what was really nice about the new model seminar for me was the way that Saturday morning we got a lot of pictures of new models. It was like, oh, this is amazing, loads of new shit. Then we had the seminar and it was like, oh, fuck, there's loads more stuff as well. And then Sunday morning, a lot of those extra models were on display as well, like the Sisters Transport, because there was a lot of pictures on Friday night of the little picture that sort of appears in Inferno in the background. And it was like, what the hell's that? Like, oh, it's mental. And then it got released, not released, announced at the, in that seminar. And then the model was available the next day to actually see him for real. I thought it was a really nice way of, like, keeping the excitement all weekend. There was a batch of new models. That was cool. Then it was like, shit, there's more new models. And actually we get to see them. I think the Heavy Dreadnought was one of those as well. It was shown in the seminar and then the next day it appeared.
Yeah, it was a really good system. That I thought that was a really, really good move by Forge World. That was, as you said, it generated a lot of hype. It was, because people have been to previous events before, they know the system. They sort of show the concept picture of the model on a slide. People are like, oh, I don't know if I like that, or maybe I really like it. I want to see what it looks like in reality, and then to be able to be given the opportunity to go and see it then the following day, and actually speak to the person who designed it. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Not just the Heavy Dreadnought. They had the Sisters of Battle submarine, not Sisters of Battle.
The June ship.
Referred to them that. Yeah, Sisters of Silence, yellow submarine, ship of death for psychers. Which is really cool, really, really nice.
Ship.
Yeah, pretty much. What did Alan refer to it as? I can't remember what Alan's nickname for. I don't know. Alan basically mentioned in one of the seminars that he had his own nickname for it, and he did say what it was, but somebody in the crowd showed that it looked like just another dildo. But
I think I made a comment earlier that with the portal hole, it does look a bit like a fleshlight.
Oh God! I hadn't thought of that one, but cheers.
Every time that everybody's going to look at that, they're just going to go, "Oh, I've spoiled the model."
To be fair, they have magnetised the front, so you can swap it out, so you don't have to look at it all the time if you don't want to.
You can put a cap over the end of your fleshlight.
You can stick a cap. You can put a cap over the end when you're not using it.
Safely store it. Wonder if Freddie can incorporate it into his real doll. Anyway, let's move on swiftly from me dragging the conversation down.
Yeah. Anyway, where was I? But we still talking about resin flashlights.
We were talking about new models. I think we were having a very nice discussion about all the exciting new things that are coming out, and then I lowered the tone. So.
So basically, we had a seminar featuring all the new models. The guys, including Mark Bedford and Tony Cottrell, sort of summarised and chatted to us about what they had. Tony was very entertaining. He had a slideshow of various pictures from Book 7, and that we had to sort of go through slowly and try and spot the new models in those slides, one of which he wouldn't go back to whatsoever. And for those people who haven't noticed, if you look at the top left-hand corner of the front cover, there looks like a new pattern of Thunderhawk on that could potentially be on its way.
That was the one they were not allowed to talk about at all, wasn't it?
No, which is very weird. But if you look inside the book as well, there is actually another picture with a much bigger and closer image of what it looks like. But I think it's potentially a SOCAR pattern Thunderhawk, or something along those lines. It certainly looks a lot better than the current model.
The current model's very dated, though, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
How long has the Thunderhawk model been around now? It was very of its time, and it still looks cool because it's a very classic, model.
Boxy shape, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it is mercilessly ripped apart in a few Horus Heresy stories where there's lots of references to it being a cheap fucking shitty model that's just used as a get you by in Horus Heresy, and now it's been around forever. But the plastic, plastic Stormbirds, plastic Thunderhawks, been a rumor as long as. Oh yeah, we'll get plastic Sisters aside, Sisters Battle. Well, we're getting there, and we actually did get plastic Custodes, so it's not out of the question now, is it?
No, which is interesting. It's either going to be one of two things: either Forge World are going to release their own, update the resin kit and do the Sokol pattern, or just new Thunderhawk, and that will be that, or it'll be a case of Forge will have their own one with its own pattern type. And Games Workshop are going to take on the boxy one and potentially do that in plastic. I don't know, but lots of different rumours and theories sort of milling around. But if we look at it simply, the kit does need updating. So whatever happens after that could be.
I was thinking about this earlier, and the Thunderhawk is not something that's going to get into 40k. It's not a model that's likely to be used at the moment. Whether that's because it's resin and not plastic and it's a big kit. I just wonder if GW would want to take it on in plastic, because they'd be saying, well, I can't imagine they sell a lot of them a year, but then is it, well, if we made a plastic one, shitloads of people would probably buy it and they'd run it in 40k and it'd be great. That's what's tempering my excitement of them at the moment, is that kind of, I'm not sure if it would actually work, but that might just be me being pessimistic.
Train coming, so who knows? But I see what you mean. I think it's more likely that it's going to be an updated version or slightly different version of a Forge World one. Why everyone jumps to and assume it's plastic is a bit, I put a post up saying, is it plastic, because that's what everyone else was saying. It was the rumor, but it doesn't seem very logical. You'd think that it would be far more likely to invest in doing a plastic Warhound kit, which would sell a lot more than that. I'm assuming, but I'd assume that the plastic Warhound would sell bucket loads, whereas that wouldn't be quite as much. But who knows?
Yeah, in reference to actually, a new edition incoming, that for the entire weekend, that was I think the elephant in the room, but was very subtly and very carefully brushed over. But I'll get on to, I'll go more into that a little later on, because some stuff was mentioned in one of the other seminars that certainly raises an eyebrow as to what is happening with the future of 30k. But overall, that was the new model seminar. Very entertaining, as always, with whenever Tony Cottrell presents anything. He did his usual sort of Q&A session where he was asking for things that we wanted. Loads of Thousand Suns players asked them to make giant resin pyramids and things like that. But overall, that was the new model seminar, and that was repeated twice for everybody who wasn't able to make that seminar, either because they were somewhere else or because they couldn't get into the room for whatever reason. But at that point, I'm pretty confident everybody was able to get in. And then after that, that was the end of day one. But how can I forget? They were also running throughout the day Adeptus Titanicus. Basically test games.
But participation. We've worked out the rules, but we got no models, so let's go and bring all the Forge World Titans over here and play it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly that. They were playing an upscaled version of Adeptus Titanicus, which apparently has the rules for in the box set when it comes out. You will be able to use your 32mm or 25mm scale models for Titanicus using its normal rulebook.
I suppose it's just a range conversion part, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Probably, yeah, I'd imagine so.
Weren't they measuring the Warlord? Sorry, weren't they measuring the Warlord's weapon range with a rope, though?
Yes, they were.
So, assuming if there is a conversion kit, you're probably going to need a small hall to play it in.
Yeah, it was definitely the epitome of the word floor hammer. It was an entire room which I think the board consisted of several bed sheets or like a massive dust mat, and a load of sort of makeshift like printed out card buildings. And then on each side you had like a Warlord Titan each, a couple of Reavers, a handful of Warhounds and this sort of stuff. I didn't get to play, unfortunately, because it was so popular that it was just absolutely rammed the entire weekend. And they only sort of did it 2 or 3 times. But I did sort of stop by to watch. And overall, it looks like a really, really good game. And thankfully, they did a seminar specifically on the game Sunday morning, which was my favourite seminar of the entire weekend, believe it or not. That was presented by Andy Hoare and James Hewitt and Tony Cottrell. Andy and James being the people sort of behind the game, and they were talking sort of about the rules and how the game would work and that sort of stuff. And we weren't sort of given any in-depth overview of the rules, because obviously I think it's still in its design process. They were talking about the Titans themselves, what we're likely to see. They basically said that we're likely to see new classes of Titan, so new types of Reavers, new types of Warhounds, new types of Night Titans as well in the game, which is pretty cool. But they said basically this game would give them the freedom to make them in this scale, because obviously there's no point making several different versions of the Reaver for 30k as we know it, because they won't sell enough. They won't make their money back. But yeah, Andy, Tony was there again, telling us some fantastic stories of sort of the original days of Adeptus Titanicus, and he was talking about when it was first released, when they were taking photos for the rule books. They had to borrow cigars from the owner of Games Workshop at the time, and how they had to completely fill a room with smoke as they were trying to take these photographs, because cigar smoke is heavier than cigarette smoke. Brilliant. They would blow it onto the battlefield and then take the picture of the models, and that's how they would get their atmosphere on the battlefield and the smoke they created. There was in this Photoshop that we use these days.
Brilliant.
And it was just absolutely brilliant. We were all in tears as he was telling us. It was just absolutely fantastic story. And he was sort of going on about how cigars back then were really expensive, and to be given one each, just to take some photographs was absolutely hilarious. It was brilliant. Yeah, my favourite seminar. There were lots of questions asked afterwards, about the game and what have you. There's no confirmation yet as to whether or not the Titans are going to be made out of resin or plastic. But Tony Cottrell has said they are near enough direct replicas of their larger counterparts. They are going to be extremely detailed, and he has said they are going to be very expensive.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But you'd expect that. I mean, he said that you're only going to need a handful of Titans. About 5 is probably about the norm. The game is to be played on a 4x4. So quite not a massive table, but you can upscale it to play on 6x4s with more Titans if you wish. And the game would probably take about the same time as an average game of 40k, really. But yeah, really, really got everybody in the room hyped for that. There were lots of questions as to when it was coming out. From what it sounds like, judging by potential releases in the future, they're struggling to find a slot for it over the next year or two.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see what happens with that. It sounds like things are going to be pretty chock-a-block for both Games Workshop and Forge World in the near future. Well, but they don't want it to get released and then swamped by something that's bigger as such in terms of releases.
Yeah. If they're going to end times 40k and Age of Sigmar it's going to be busy for a while. When we're all going back to 4 pages of rules. Or there's going to be some reaction. I'm going to get some people going.
I thought I could taste salt in the air.
I think there's going to be. Let's not get into 40k rule change and stuff, but it's going to be busy because at a minimum they're pushing the storyline on with 40k, and that's a big thing. That is going to be a big thing for them.
Yeah.
So it's going to tie up time, and you don't want to put time and effort into something like Titanicus, and then it doesn't go anywhere. It's been swallowed up by the triumvirate of the Orc Triumvirate, or whatever's the new thing at the moment. So it'll be good. It'll be good.
Well, either way, but when it comes out, it'll definitely be something to look forward to. I'm really excited for it. I'm really, really looking forward to the game when it drops. It's themed during the Horus Heresy as well. And Andy Hall was saying that the rule book itself and everything about the game, the quality of it has been designed to match the quality that we've come to know and love for the Horus Heresy books, as in the big black books. So in there, where we've got the nice maroon red and sort of yellowy beige colour in the Titanicus book, we're getting a real nice navy and yellowy sort of blue colour as well. So they've both got that sort of premium feel, but because the artwork and sort of the structure is similar, you can definitely see that it's almost like an expansion in a way to 30k. They did confirm as well that they didn't have any plans for the foreseeable future to add anything like epic or infantry or anything like that. They are strictly going to make it about Titans and Titans alone.
Yeah. That's a very vague answer to say that when we've sold shitloads of it and people are clamouring for it. We did just say it was no point at the moment, and now we've decided to do epic. So it's not a no, but it's don't hold your breath on it, isn't it?
Yeah, don't wait on it.
Yeah.
And that was that seminar. Very, very good. Like I said, my favourite for the weekend. Left me feeling really, really excited. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool. So what did you get up to after that then?
Swiftly after that, I stayed for another seminar. The recurring theme here, the seminars were the place to be, which was the Art of the Heresy. We had a lot of the artists present. Neil Roberts, Dominic Erdinger, and Rachel Pierce. For those that don't know, what those guys do. Neil Roberts and I think Dominic are both artists for the Horus Heresy series. They're the guys that have produced a lot of the artworks for the novels. Rachel Pierce, she's responsible for a lot of the artworks that we see on things like the transfers. It's a lot of the army artwork. They went through examples of their work on a presentation. They spoke about their inspirations, how they felt an army should be represented, and what they tried to captivate basically in the artwork that they did. So Rachel's previewed some really, really nice Blood Angel transfers that are in the design stage at the moment. Nothing's been confirmed.
They look very pretty though.
Yeah, the Blood Angels are going to be, I think, elegant. Where the Emperor children are arrogant, they're going to be sort of beautiful. Each individual tank is a sort of piece of art, basically, with gold trim and angels and what have you sort of painted to the sides of their Spartans and their Storm Eagles. They're going to be a really, really visually pleasing army. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out for that. And then after that, again, was another seminar that I went to, which was the Primarchs. Again, with the authors of the Black Library. In that we had Guy Haley, James Swallow, Gav Thorpe, and Chris Wright present. And they all spoke about basically how the Primarchs have dealt with the heresy and who they felt had dealt with the heresy the best and who had dealt with the heresy the worst, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely some of them have definitely dealt better than others, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of them are dead for God's sake, but
Ferris hasn't done too well. I mean, shit's kicked off. There's no need to lose your head. Let's keep a calm head. Clearly weak because he didn't survive the first fucking year of the heresy. Everyone goes on about Ferris being a dick kicker. He was the first one to get fucking murked. He's obviously. I can't wait till Tim gets on Skype and starts yelling at me.
Makes my blood boil whenever I see a Ferris Manus, in games playing later on during the heresy. I'm just like, dude, you haven't got a Primarch anymore. Like, stop using him. Unless you're playing an Istvan themed game, this game is redundant.
Or you magnetise his head and you just let me pull it off at any time he comes anywhere near anybody. Oh, look, a tactical marine. Oh, fuck it, off comes your head.
But yeah, they went into a lot of detail, sort of the sort of how it would affect them psychologically, and basically the synopsis that we got was that they all felt that Guilliman was the one that had dealt with the heresy the best. You know, he had plans in place to deal with. You know, this isn't sort of just talking about like during the heresy. This is talking about like after the heresy as well. You know, he had plans in place to rebuild the Imperium and what have you, and how to organise his legion.
Yeah, I mean, after the heresy, he didn't lose his shit and go and get into a shit fight in the Iron Cage. And let's face it, I mean, it was only a matter of time before people realised the 500 worlds were better than the Imperium anyway. So declaring our own Imperium was only a matter of time because you lot were dragging us down.
You'd swear you played Ultramarines.
Yeah, you'd swear I'd have a bias.
Then he had a good sleep, so he could come back to life 10,000 years later, even bigger.
No, he hasn't come back. He hasn't come back to life. I refuse to accept that as a possibility of what has happened, because that
stasis field has given him some gains.
He has got bigger tits than your local porn star.
Gilliman's back. His mummy grandma is dead, and he's mad.
He is pissed. Grandma's not here to keep him on the straight and narrow anymore. I mean, even when Grandma was around, he set up his own heretical Imperium. You know, now Grandma's not around. What the fuck is he going to do? Actually, as a matter of course, I've been asking this to a few people, Sam. When Gilliman went to sleep, the Imperial truth was still there. Secular Imperium. Gilliman wakes up in a religious, fanatical, new Imperium, and he is going to be worshipped as a son of a god. Surely he won't like that.
Yeah, he's going to lose his shit.
Yeah, so how is he going?
He's probably going to lose his cool with Kelgar as well.
Yeah, I mean, they are religious fanatics, and he is, he's very adamant in 30k that he is anti-religion. I mean, there's some room for a softening of attitudes in the Scouring, but he is down long before the age of opacity, where the religion really takes over. So he's going to wake up. I could see him siding with Chaos and going, well, actually, mankind's fucked this all up. Let's fight differently. But how do you think they're going to reconcile that?
I think there's going to be too much going on, chaos-wise and risk-wise, to Terra for Guilliman to be able to stop and address the Emperor's a gold thing.
Save the Imperium.
I think they're going to brush over it. I think they're going to brush over it. Guilliman's return is going to be pretty swift, and he's going to be, he's going to be kicking ass pretty shortly after he wakes up. To be honest,
I might actually have to get a copy of this book just to soothe my conscience about it. Is he literally just going to stand up and go, right, motherfuckers, I've had a sleep, what's going on? It seems very it's not like he's been waking up for a few years. He's just suddenly stepped up and gone, right, sweet, I'm here. What are we doing then?
I also must say the video and the pictures of the model don't do the model justice compared to when you see it in the plastic. I might have done.
Very nice. I'm interested.
Yeah, it's a cool model. It's a really, really nice model.
I will want to see one in real life, but the pictures I've seen, it's all out of scale as far as I can see.
It's not as big as it looks either.
I will bow to your first-hand experience, as with everything. Somebody actually made the comment, whoever's doing the photography at White Dwarf and Games Workshop at the moment doesn't seem to be doing a very fair representation, because there's been a few models where people have seen pictures and gone, oh, that's disgusting, and then seen it in real life and gone, actually, it's not that bad.
I just think that's the case with most photos, to be honest. And I think when you're selling a product, you want it to be sort of the primary focus on the page. So I think naturally you'll get that sort of that depth perspective where everything in the background probably looks smaller because obviously it's probably a bit further away. Yeah, exactly. So when I first saw Gilliam, I thought, bloody hell, he looks enormous. But then, having seen the video of it and having seen the model, it is a lot smaller. Than it makes out to be. He's about the same size as the 30k one.
Are they taking because they do 360 shots? Are they doing the 360 shot and then maybe taking the still from that rather than a still photo? I don't know. You've done the photography degree, Tom. I'm just thinking out loud, really. I just wonder if they're doing that, whether that's affecting the proportions a little bit and the way it looks when it's turned into a still.
Yeah, it's very easy when you're taking pictures to screw up the if I hadn't drunk so much, I'd know the fucking words I'm trying to say. Perspective, that's the word I'm looking for. To screw with perspective, it's quite easily done. I mean, I'm looking on the community website now, and I've actually found a second picture where he's more in a line with. He's next to Calgar actually, and yeah, he doesn't look so bad there. His legs still look too long. His chest basically looks like his cock is about where his belly button should be, and his legs are a bit long. But again, it's so easy to do because he looks smaller than that crazy. Is it Magos Crawl? Archmagos Crawl from the Triumvirate?
That's a great model.
It is. That's a beautiful model. But Gilliman looks smaller than him, so. Yeah, I will reserve my judgment until we're actually in it. But I'm kind of interested to see how it comes out. I don't think his face is as nice. Something's gone wrong with his face over the last 10,000 years. But
he's using really, really good face cream, clearly.
Yeah, and I still maintain. Fuck me, whatever he's doing for a chest workout, can you give it to me? Because I've got fucking moobs. I could do with that. So he's still got the hand of dominion. Actually, he's kept his power fist, but by the looks of it, someone's glued a bolter to it as well.
And anyway, back to Weekender.
Anyway,
not
sorry, I'm on the community page, and did you stick around? I'm assuming you stuck around for Angelus afterwards, then.
Yes, which was probably the single most disappointing part of the weekend, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of figured they wouldn't want to say a lot.
No, yeah, that's probably really negative of me just to come out with that straight away. But no, I mean, usually, having been to the Weekender last year and the Weekender before that, they do give a lot of detail about what they're planning on doing in the next book. And the atmosphere in this seminar was really strange, I must be honest. So Alan Bly was there, Tony Cottrell was there, and Mark Bedford. Tony was, joking and saying that they hadn't done a lot of work to Angelus, and that they were basically going to have to blag the information that they were going to give us for this seminar because they didn't really have any information to give us, which is fair enough, with everything that's going on, with sort of a lot of the Forgeworld staff members now moving across to specialist games, things like that. They have got a smaller team, and so therefore I think production would slow down. However.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'd heard, I don't know how true this is because I hear lots of things, that one of the reasons for the delay for Inferno was that they went back and redid a lot of sections of it. They wanted to re-go through the talents list because I know I've heard rumours before that the Sisters and the Custos were supposed to get their own separate army lists, and obviously that's been combined. So I wonder if the plan was to do an Angelus seminar based on the fact that they were probably going to be further along down the road, whereas they've had to go back and do work on Inferno, which has, snowballed into delaying time they've been able to spend on Angelus.
Yeah, that's potentially a reason for it. I mean, we were expecting Inferno out, just before Christmas, I think.
When around the time Rust dropped and Prospero dropped, so November time, I think, I think there was definitely a window there when one of the weeks all they released was a bundle on the books, and that I think both me and you, Stu, both commented, that would be the week that Inferno was dropping, because all they'd done is really do a bundle on books.
Planned, wasn't it? Because it was they didn't make that paragraph up in the White Dwarf about it being out without there being something to that. It was, obviously, they print those ahead of time, so I think they still thought that it would be released for Christmas. And for whatever reason, whether it was slow boats, which sounds like this might still be on a slow boat from China anyway, or adjustments to it. Whether that's because they've changed some rules, maybe that's because they know what's happening with 8th, etc., etc. But the 15 to 20 book series looks like I might be retiring before it's out if they don't get some stuff and pick the pace up a little bit. It sounds great, but it does make me think, really? They're never going to get them all out. But anyway, so yeah, so
this is what we thought.
Yeah, tell us more about this seminar then, because we've just talked over you.
No, it's fine. But what through that one of those theories sort of up in the air really was some of the things that Alan was saying, where he was talking about in the future, basically we would still have the content of fluff and things in the black books, even if the rules were to suddenly not be relevant anymore or not be up to date. Which a lot of people found very weird, really, because it sounded almost like he was hinting that, that was going to happen, basically, and that nobody should get too disappointed if, in the event that the rules do change and the rules in those black books do become technically obsolete, that we'll still have the narrative content and things in those black books, and they should still have some value to us as hobbyists. And that really put quite a bit of an on-edge atmosphere I think in the seminar, really. So partnered with those comments and them not having a lot to sort of really say about the new book, it almost sort of gave the impression that the reason that there was no progress on the book was because they're waiting on a new edition of 40k before they can actually sort of write up any new rules for
logical.
it.
Yeah. Why would you go to writing stats for a book that the rules?
So I don't know whether that's me looking into it and being a bit paranoid or whatever, or reading too much into it. But for me, logically, because we know Forge World have very little to no communication with the Games Workshop rules writers. From the sounds of things, I mean, you've only got to look at the recent 40k FAQs, for God's sake, to see whether or not, is there any point Alan wasting 6 months of his life writing up rules for a new book that could end up being completely changed in the event that 40k either gets completely changed like AOS, or changed to a level where he has to rewrite everything anyway.
Yeah, even if it doesn't get AOS, if there's some fundamental changes to rules or mechanics or special units, where he goes, well, fuck, I've got to go again. They may be just saying, right, let's write fluff this year and we'll deal with the rules later.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they'd have to go back and do a massive FAQ for everything else they've released before they've even looked at finishing the next book. There's no point in releasing rules for 2 legions when you've got to go back and redo all the others. So I would hope now that that with the changes we've seen with GW, that maybe there is a little bit more communication, or at least the ability for them to communicate a little bit. Because you get the impression that the company's changing a little bit with the specialist games department. That's clearly a joint venture, isn't it? Really, GW and Forge World.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would hope now that they probably did have a better idea, but maybe they don't know what to do. Maybe they haven't been told whether they're going to be allowed to continue with using a 7th, or whether they're not allowed to. Because we've heard rumours both ways, I think, in the last week. So that'll be interesting.
Well, they funny enough, they confirmed that in the seminar as well. They asked people to basically ask questions about the future of 30k, and I think Greg of the Imperial Truth podcast. No, not the Imperial Truth.
Yeah, it is. Imperial Truth.
It
is. It's Greg. Yeah.
And after all,
asked basically whether or not if there was a change to the 40k rules, would 30k continue along the lines of 7th edition, and would that become then Forge World's baby to tweak and change as they please? And both Tony and Alan were pretty firm in saying that 30k would never be a separate game to 40k. 30k will always be an expansion to the main core rules of 40k. So yeah, let's certainly close that one up. But whether that changes, I have no idea. But back to the actual sort of the little content they did have for the actual seminar. We were basically given an overview of what we were likely to expect in the new book, which was, to be honest, most people were expecting this anyway. You know, rules for the Blood Angels, rules for the Dark Angels, expanded rules for the Night Lords, and the only new rules that we did see were rules for the Dark Mechanicum, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
but basically the book will, that's pretty cool. But from what it sounds like, the book will be focusing purely on the Cygnus Prime campaign. Obviously, Blood Angels fighting the demons in the Cygnus system, and then the Dark Angels campaign against the Night Lords in the Thramas system, Thramas Crusade.
Yeah, sorry, Sam. Interesting with that. There's going to be there's Night Lords in it. Do you think we're going to get Night Lords units, or do you think they're just going to feature in the fluff, or
both?
Yeah, they're going to get some units and stuff as well.
Both, yeah. One of the things Alan said actually about sort of as the books get released, he said that there will be updated Legion rules to sort of reflect how both the Traitor and Loyalist Legions become basically what they are during 40k. That he said some of the Night Lords rules that we'll see in this new book will be very similar to some of their rules, or the rules you'd expect in 40k. I mean, they've still got Legion units that have not come out yet. They've got their what their Terminators called, the first company. Terminators.
The Aftermentor.
That's the ones, yeah. My friend Wes will never forgive me for getting that. But the Aftermentor Terminators, Alan said they would be getting rules. And yeah, so something to look forward to. But unfortunately, no previews of any models for that particular book that they're working on, or any actual rules. Just more so a case of, right, this is what is gonna be included in the book, and we haven't started working on it yet. Which was basically the overview of the seminar.
This is what's come in. Don't ask any details. We just know what we're going to put in it.
We won't be seeing that for 18 months.
Yeah, just wait and see.
No way. We're not going to see that at all.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at Christmas 2018, aren't we? I reckon. Or at least that kind of quarter, November time. They might actually manage to get back with the pre-Christmas release schedule by by making it ridiculously late. Getting so late that it's back on time again, just 2 years behind or something. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see a black. Based on what you said there, and it's a bit. I heard some of the stuff, but I've not heard all of that detail. So it sounds, I'll be very surprised if we see another black book now till sort of at least halfway through 2018. It sounds like it's going to be a while, because I think there's going to be a big, if 8 Dead is a big change, or even just a significant enough change. It won't. I don't think it's going to be as much as AOS from the rumours that have been out. I think even on Warhammer TV, they've said it's not been AOS. It won't be as severe a change as AOS. I think they've learnt from that, but it still could be significant enough that even if a couple of stats have dropped or something, that's a lot of rewriting for a one-man rules team, really, isn't it? That's a lot of
potentially we may see February next
year. If we'll see a price drop on the black, even if the rules, if the rules are all out of date, you shouldn't be charging 75 quid for them anymore. That'll be.
Well, even if the rules are even tweaked slightly, I'd really like 40k to move into a sort of one unit move action sort of system, where both players alternate activating units. I think that would be a really cool system to use. I think for Alan Bly, who has one of the sole responsibilities, or one of the biggest responsibilities for writing the rules for these black books, it's balancing them with that in mind. So even if he writes up rules, in like a rough guide for this potential new edition, he's then got to go back and tweak it all anyway. So rather than waste all that time sort of fanning about making plans, it's better to just have what you have in front of you, i.e. potentially a new rule set, and just work from there. But again, this is going on what I read into at the event. It's probably it may not be right. I could be totally wrong. But that's certainly the vibe that both myself and quite a few others in that room picked up on, I think. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, because there's mixed things being said. There's Games Workshop employees that I know, retail staff, whatever, that are saying, it's not going to be AOS, it's not going to change that much, but who knows? So I think it's just simply a case of waiting and seeing.
I think me and Stu were chatting about, I know I've just finished. I'm working on writing an event pack for Tarsis, which I'm going to drop soon. That's going to come, for an event in September. Potentially, there could be an edition change in there. We're going to have to see what what do we do? And I basically wrote in there, look, if the edition changes, we'll deal with it as and when it comes up, and we'll worry about what issues it brings up then.
That's all you can do, really, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no point worrying about it. I think, the one thing me and Stu said is actually if they did nothing to the game, if they made Assault viable again, that would fundamentally change the feel of the game. Suddenly you'd bring a load more armies back into the game. You could bring in that 30 and 40k. I played my friend Tony, who's got a Dark Eldar force, and he's like, if I could Assault properly, I'd be happy. He said the problem is I face the gun line and I just get gunned off. And you go up against an Iron Warriors gun line with a World Eaters list, and you're like, when I get to you, I'm going to eat you. But I've got 3 turns of trying to get to you, and you're going to have, by the time I get there, I'm going to be ineffective. So if we could make Assault viable, that would be enough. I've sort of discussed with Stu the idea that 8th Ed might be a halfway house to quite a big change by 9th Ed. 9th edition is maybe where we would see the game being quite unrecognisable from 7th, but 8th would be a halfway house where they can use that to transition to a format where 9th Ed would be a much bigger
don't get the backlash that they did with AOS. Yeah, that makes sense, and we might well see something like that.
It's they may be an 8th Ed change mechanics, but leave the stats alone, so that when we go to 9th, the stats change, or maybe change the stats and leave them. I don't know. You know what I mean? It could be a halfway house, but this is all rumour mongering and just what I sit here in my fever dream of alcohol place.
I'm quite open to a new edition. I'm not too. I don't come from a sort of recent 4K background, so as long as I can play games of Heresy that still capture the feel of what a Heresy game is in terms of fluff and then I don't really care. I don't. It's 40k isn't a balanced competitive game anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not knocking people who do see it that way.
I'd be more.
So I don't want to upset anyone, because I genuinely, this is very much my point of view. I'm not saying I don't care about what other people feel, but from my point of view, if the game felt a bit simplified, I don't mind. I think you can still, tactics can be through good. I say this a lot. It's about synergy and scenario design. It's not about complexity of overlay of special rules, and a big rule book and complexity doesn't actually mean tactical challenge. And a lot of people confuse, I think, especially who haven't played other game systems, will confuse complexity with tactical challenge. And Tom and I were talking about the sort of the nuances in X-Wing and things like that. Very simple rule sets that. Probably far more tactical in some ways than 40k can be sometimes. So
I'd be more concerned if they screwed with the story and the fluff and stuff, because
we're safe.
We're
30k players. We are totally safe with that. If we were 40k players talking about it now, we could be upset about what they did, and I'm not upset about AOS as a rule set. Not that I've really played it, but I miss the old world. And if the old world still existed but was an OS rule set, I might be playing it now. But it won't affect us. They're not going. 30k is 30k. The Black Library novels are nearing their end. It's not gonna affect that. So all we need is, as far as I'm concerned, is a rule set that's good enough to use the current miniature connections and carry on doing what we want to do, which is hang out with cool people, showing off cool, all about modelling and hobby and fluff. And for me, that's what the Heresy is about. I do appreciate that a lot of people, it's more than that, and they do like the current 40k rule set, and they want the game still to be like that, and they don't want it to feel like a different game. I get it. I feel sorry for you guys if they do that. For me, it's not quite as important.
Well, both me and you, Stu, have discussed that we've got less invested because we both have big gaps from the hobby where, I played in probably first and second ed and then didn't play from then, so I don't have the history
we're not
invested. I'm not
institutionalised 40k in the 40k thing, so yeah, probably what it is. But yeah, what I do hope though, and the last thing I was saying, I do hope that if it's going to be 8th ed for Heresy, that once 8th ed drops, I'm going to want to get on and play it. I don't want it to take 6 months for them to bring out an FAQ document so that we can actually play all of our stuff. I'd love them to have enough. So GW, if you're listening, and you haven't given Alan the heads up on it, let them know so that he can start working, so that when it drops, they can release the FAQ so we can start playing 8th ed Heresy. I don't want to have to keep playing 7th ed knowing that we will have to take 8th ed in 6 months' time when they actually get the document out. I'd much rather see an FAQ, big FAQ drop that we can all start, and it'll be all like a fresh new game and join in the excitement. And then we see brand new red books that will probably come out before Angelus because they're going to need it just to get the official stats out there. But anyway, I won't think that's we'll be going off on another massive tangent if we talk about that anymore.
Cool. So did that then wrap up your weekend then, Sam? You decided to get out of there after Angelus, or did you hang about?
Pretty much, yeah. That was the last. Well, after Angelus was the Golden Demon ceremony.
Of course, you had to go there and get your award. Because now you can now join the club that me and Stu inhabit of the award-winning painters. You might have a Golden Demon, but I've got first place from Traitors Rage, so screw you. I'm an award-winning painter as well. How many? I've got at least 10th mention this episode on this, Stu. Yeah. He's getting sick of that.
you enjoy it. You enjoy it. So
no,
he's got it in front of his telly, Sam.
I am.
He's put his award in front of his telly. Oh, bless him.
I ain't getting another one, so I'm damn well making the most of this one. That was awesome. So
I showed my Golden Demon trophy to my other half, and she said, "That's a fucking ugly looking thing. They could have given you a decent trophy." And she said, "Where's that going to go?" I said, "I don't know. I'm going to find a place for it." And she goes, "Well, wherever it's going to go, it's going to be facing the wall because I'm not looking at that fucking horrible thing."
It's always nice.
I said, "Great, cheers." Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no. Cool. Well, I guess, Sam, thank you very much for coming on and chatting some bullshit with us, because we didn't get time to get it. We weren't lucky enough to get up there. We desperately want to get up there next year and hopefully, catch up with everyone and enjoy it for ourselves. But we really appreciate you coming on to taking us through it, man.
No worries. No problem. Thanks for having me again, guys.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll catch you up again with you soon, and we'll get you on for something else.
You're in Gibraltar, aren't you? So you'll see
Fingers
Tom
crossed.
there.
Oh, are you coming to Gibraltar with me? No, you couldn't make Gibraltar.
I was supposed to be, but I can't make it. I can't get the leave off work, unfortunately.
Yeah, you did say yes. You did say the other day in the group you couldn't make it. So, that would have been awesome. But hopefully at worst you'll be at Tarsus. You'll come and buy a ticket for Tarsus.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Put it on the spot.
See what happens for the future.
That's a no, Tom.
All right, mate. Well, someone's already bought their hotel ticket.
Yeah, they have.
I've sold one ticket. So even if it's just me and him, we're all right.
That sounds bad.
Nice one, Sam. Really appreciate it, buddy. We'll hopefully catch up with you sometime soon.
Take care, mate.
No problems. Cheers, guys.
Lord Marshal Great, sir. Legion reinforcements now visible on the left flank.
Ah, about time. The wolves, I see.
No, sir. Ultramarines, sir.
But they're wearing grey, Proclamator Fennec.
Fox message said new recruits, sir. No time to paint armour. All Legion reinforcements to the right, sir.
Thank you, Fennec. Good to see the scars correctly presented.
Sorry, sir. It's more Ultramarines. New issue armour. Prime white. No time to paint, sir.
Shocking! At least the Raven Guard are in black armour.
Sorry, sir. That's more Ultramarines.
For Emperor's sake, fox them and find out why.
Yes, sir. Apparently, also new armour, sir. But the sergeant says it's okay. Their eye lenses are red and the bolt guns are silver. He said 3 colours minimum, sir.
What the? Get on the Vox now and tell them to contact Miniature Realm Studio.
Miniature Realm Studio, sir.
Yes, Fennec. Miniature Realm Studio offers a commission painting service, competitive rates, and a range of painting standards to suit most budgets and requirements.
Yes, sir. Very good, sir. I suppose they do say that fully painted is for closers.
What does that even mean, Fennec?
I don't know, sir. No one really does, sir.
Miniature Realms Studio can be found on Facebook, on Twitter at Miniature Realms, on Instagram at Miniature Realms Studio, or just drop Stuart an email at miniaturerealmstudio@gmail.com.
And welcome back after that little break there, and we're on for our now regular hobby section.
We managed to do something twice in a row.
I know, it's good, isn't it? It's good. We've done a few things in the past, and our unit and fluff reviews was a bit of a thing, and we will get back to that once all the Book 7 stuff's out of the way. But yeah,
I think there'll be some units in there that we want to go back and look at specifically.
Yeah.
So there'll be some good things to pull out of there as well.
Definitely. But we're definitely going to keep the hobby sections going because we're such big painters ourselves. Well, we're quite big, and
we're
our
award-winning
stomachs are quite big, and we paint. So we thought today a lot of the things we were going to cover. We talk about using the airbrush a lot, so we thought we'd better do a quick sort of short few minutes on airbrushing for beginners, and we can't really talk or about technique too much. It's almost impossible to do in an audio format. But we thought we'd go through some of the basic kit that you might need to get if you thought about maybe picking up an airbrush, and some places where you can go and find out some early tuition and things like that. So Tom, you probably you've probably been airbrushing for a shorter period than me, but you've probably done an awful lot more of it because you started through a course, really, didn't you? So talk to me about how you got into airbrushing and when you decided to do it and how you started.
So, if we go back, I started off painting about 3 years ago when I got back into the hobby, and I very much, paintbrush was the only thing I'd ever known. When I was a kid, rattle cans were advanced technology. We rattle can things a base colour and paint everything off that. And that's where I went. I was just building up my painting skills and stuff like that. And I got to a point where I think a lot of people think the only thing I can do is airbrush now to make it better, which may or may not be true. There are certain things I would only ever do through an airbrush. There are also certain things that I much prefer doing with a wet brush. So one of the first things with airbrushing is it's not going to be the all-consuming answer to everything. It's also not going to replace your paintbrushes completely. You are still going to need your paintbrush. And one of the things Stu's always bollocking me for is, making sure I keep pushing my hand brushing skills to keep up with my airbrushing skills. So I started off, I got to a point at the beginning of last year where I thought I want to do airbrushing. And I actually thought, I want to start Heresy. I'm starting a new army. I'm starting a new game system. I'm going to start, and I want to start airbrushing. So I'm going to, jump the whole hog in. And just so happened there was an MKA course coming up at the time, and that, yes, is my episodely tick on the commission sheet that I've mentioned MKA at least once a show. But I was lucky enough to go on an MKA course in May and got shouted at by Andy and Matt for 2 days, who taught me how to use an airbrush. And you do hear them when they talk about it, and people say, they say, everybody looks at the models that come out the end of it and think, everybody must have been a pretty decent painter by then. I had never seriously picked up my airbrush beforehand. I had a cheap Chinese airbrush that I'd put some paint through to do basically like a rattle can, and that is it. Never done anything with an airbrush. Didn't even really understand thinning it properly. Didn't really understand what to do with it. I bet I'd had it out of the box probably 2 or 3 weeks before the course, and when I did it, so they literally did take me from a complete beginner through to somebody who now paints a little bit like a chimp throwing shit at the wall. I'm now aiming at the wall rather than just flinging it randomly. And I've started painting stuff. So, I picked up airbrushing that way. I definitely went down there. I watched a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of resources, but I'm definitely somebody who benefits a lot more from sitting next to somebody and doing it. like when we did painting faces and we spent the day at Incom painting faces, and just having somebody go, what do you think of that?
Yeah.
And then looking at what you're actually doing. You didn't sit there and actually take me through it. You just gave me pointers on how to do it, and that was key. That was so good. So, I mean, if you can, there are courses out there starting with airbrushing, very, very good. MK obviously has a big name at the moment. It's a very, very good course. There are others available. Our good friend Miles at Little Legends will help you. He will do his Google Hangout lessons. I'm sure if you said to him, Miles, I don't know how to use an airbrush, he'd happily sit there and help you with it. Siege Studios, do their Essentials Masterclass.
They definitely do a course, a 2-day course. I think there's some airbrushing in it. I've seen pictures with airbrush compressors on tables and things. I know they do a lot of brushwork.
Yeah, I think there's a blend between airbrush and brushwork, but yeah, it's definitely the good place to start. And I mean, I've painted everything in my Ultramarines army in 10 months, 9 months-ish, and the airbrush has really helped. But one of the other things I wanted to mention with airbrushing is a lot of people think it's a quick way of getting things done as well. It's going to instantly speed up your painting. Now, there are certain things it does help with. I mean, I think painting armour on batch infantry and stuff like that does help, but it's not necessarily going to half the amount of time it takes to paint stuff. In some places, it now takes me longer to do certain things with my airbrush, but I prefer the result I get, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It
So
might have been a place before where you'd have put a flat colour down with a rattle can, that now you've gradually built up numerous layers over a pre-highlighted model. So that's where you're adding the extra time, I suppose. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So there's definitely things to look at and stuff like that. It's not a cheat. It's a different tool, and it will speed up some things and it will slow down other things. So it's very much a tool to be used. But where should we start then, Stu? I've just gone out. I want to airbrush. Where's the best place for me to start?
I think it depends on your budget, really. I think we both started in a similar place with a eBay purchase of a compressor and a cheap Chinese airbrush. Mine was probably a little bit different approach to you. I've had one for a few years, but didn't sort of buy it with an intent to start a new army and learn how to do it all in one go. Mine was more of a kind of, I was a painter anyway, and it was something that a lot of painters were using, but I definitely wasn't doing much power armor, so I didn't get to use it as much as you did straight away. So I kind of used it for priming models and for doing large areas of flat color, and learned as I went along, really, mainly through YouTube videos and things. But yeah, I started with a cheap Chinese one, and that's often a good way to get. You're often going to get with your compressor, if you buy it for Amazon or eBay or something like that, you're often going to get a cheap brush with it anyway, so you can have a little bit of a play around. But then you want to look at if you're interested in pushing your skills, you want to look at buying yourself a slightly better quality airbrush. So what did you start with? Because you just got a new one, haven't you? But what did you start with?
Yeah. I did start with the cheap side feed airbrush, but I very quickly moved on to Iwata Neo, and I think that's an excellent place to start with an airbrush. I think I paid £50 from Element Games for one, so it's not a huge investment, but it is definitely it's a proper airbrush, if that makes sense. I definitely wouldn't have wanted to go to the airbrush that I'm on now. I'm currently using a Heider and Steinbach Evolution 2-in-1, and it's very precise. It's quite unforgiving in times, and I've been using it for a month or so now, and I'm still dialing that in. So, obviously depending on your budget, I think there is a disadvantage to go out and buying the most expensive airbrush you can get your hands on, because it's like any tool, sometimes a slightly cheaper, less detailed one will give you a bit more, control to start with and be a bit forgiving for you. So I started off with an Iwata Neo, and I think it was a great place. So I did as Stu did. I bought a Fox Hunter compressor with no tank off Amazon. I think I paid about £50 for that, and it came with 2 airbrushes. So it's a great little compressor, does what it needed to do, and ran along. My first purchase after the kit with the compressor was the Neo, and I think that was definitely the right thing to go for first. It was upgrade the airbrush was definitely what I needed. And while we're talking compressors, then Stu, you've still got one without a tank, haven't you?
It still goes. So the amount of work I put it through commissions at the moment, and I've not really had many issues with it. Though I'm probably going to find it's going to blow up on me in the next few months if I keep doing lots of my commissions tend to mix and match, so I'm not always doing heresy stuff. So I might do a whole 6 or 7 weeks with just mainly doing brush work, so the airbrush doesn't come out so much. So but if I sort of do a few more months of big commissions like Freddie's, when all I'm doing is airbrushing, it seems, then it may well blow up on me. But yeah, no tank. Occasionally, very very rarely, I'll have to give it a minute just to let the pressure build back up a little bit, because the tank's not there with the air, so it means it's noisier. But again, I'm outside in my man shed, so it doesn't affect. If you're somewhere inside where the noise is going to be an issue, then get one with a tank if you can afford it to start with, because you'll only end up wanting to change it. I'm at that place now. I'm thinking I need to buy one with a tank, but because this one's still doing the job, I haven't got around to it.
I mean, I actually bought mine with a tank a couple of months ago, and I went from the Fox Hunter, I think it's the Fox Hunter A86, which is the fairly generic one without a tank, to the 186, AS186, which is basically the compressor I had slapped on top of the tank. I think I only paid 80 quid for that off Amazon, so you don't have to go out and spend a fortune to get a tank. 80 quid, it's basically, like I said, my old compressor strapped on top of a tank. It's great. I love it. I do sit in my house and paint, so it's quite nice not to have the compressor running all the time. Obviously, if I'm doing a lot of infantry or something, I'm doing a big squad or stuff, I tend to, if you've got a compressor running for an hour or so, it can be quite annoying. So I also found my other one was heat was the problem. Obviously, with the compressor running all the time, it does generate heat. And I used to have it by my foot, and I lost count the amount of times I burnt my foot on the bloody hot compressor. So it keeps that down as well. It actually keeps the room temperature down a bit as well. So I don't have to paint quite so much in my pants anymore, and I'm sweating because my compressor's at 45 degrees. So tank is good, not essential. I think the first purchase, if you're looking to upgrade your cheap eBay, purchase it, the airbrush is the first one to go for. But like I said, the Neo, I've actually just sent my Neo to Sweden for Jody. He was looking at upgrading his, and I've got my Evolution now, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I thought, well, it's just sitting in my bloody drawer. So I said, Jody was looking for one. I thought, send it to someone who's going to give it some love. So it's a really good solid work brush. I mean, what are you running at the moment?
It's an H&S as well, but I've got the Ultra, so it's actually the one down from yours. It's still a 2-in-1, so the 0.4 and the 0.2 needles. And I very rarely use the 0.2. You don't really need it. The 0.4's quite good enough. It's still a world difference from that and the cheap Chinese ones. And I think while we're still talking about brushes, if you've got a cheap Chinese one, and some of them are probably quite good because they copy quite well, but if you've got a cheap Chinese one and you're thinking, this is quite hard to be, it's not precise enough, I'm really struggling to get the air and paint flow right, and it splutters and things, some of it might be a setup, but sometimes it's just the crappier brush. And I got myself to a level where I was doing okay with the cheap one, but it's a world of difference. It's like buying I think it's like having a car, isn't it? When you're maybe trying to do a hill in a 1.2 car, and then you try it in a 1.6, and suddenly drive is a lot easier. And I found with the better brush, it just helps. Mine's not super expensive. Mine's a 90 quid job. I mean, yours is about 120, 130, I think, isn't it? Both great. I'm probably going to pick up what you've got at some point, and then I'll leave the 0.4 in the Ultra and put the 0.2 in the Evo, and leave them set up like that. But it does me fine.
Do you know what? I haven't actually used. I don't use the 0.2. I find that the 0.4, anything I'm doing 28mm scale, I've never needed the 0.2, and I actually find it a bit hard work because it restricts the amount of airflow in, and I find you don't get a lot of pressure with the 0.2, and it can cause you other issues going down that detail as well. So I think I remember I was talking to Mr. Wardle, and I think he recommended at his level he wouldn't spend any more than about 150, 200 quid on a brush and 250 quid on a compressor, and that I mean, we all know the level Andy's painting at is, the top end of the mountain. So it gives you an idea. I always like that as a budget. I think so if I'm looking at it, I'm 80 quid for a tank, 120 quid for an airbrush. So my basic equipment is less than 200 quid.
But you didn't start. And the important thing is you didn't start with that, and
I didn't
don't let
start
that put
at
you
that
off.
level.
If 200 quid's too much for you, don't start with that.
I mean, I'm an award-winning painter, so you know that. I'm not going to let
be
that
on your
drop, am I?
gravestone, isn't it? Award-winning painter.
Yeah. Well, the bloody prize, the trophy for it's in the front and centre of the mantelpiece, right in front of everything, just so the wife has to look at it. I did try and say to her last night. She said, "I came home when I was tired." And I said, "Will you get me a drip cup of tea?" And she went, "Oh." And I went, "Look, I'm an award-winning painter. You need to do these things for me now." That didn't go down well.
Be careful, because she might accidentally knock that onto the hard floor while she's dusting if you keep pushing that too.
But yeah, my original setup was 50 quid for two airbrushes and a compressor, for the original. And what I think my minimum setup would be, if somebody said to me, "Look, I want to go out and get something, a good solid starting point," would be 100 quid, and buy the Neo to go with it as well. That would be my.
So what other kit do they need?
With
Tom? So what else do you need other than your airbrush and your compressor?
You probably want to get some paint to go through it, don't you?
Do.
There are a multitude of ranges. There is a lot to do with personal preferences. I would think me and you, we've talked about before. We both have a preference for scale 75 paint.
Mostly. I think. I do like the Vallejo model and Game Air ranges as well. I think I've not had a problem with any of them ever, so they're quite good. But scale 75 has a range of paints of the most versatile. I think they got one range and they thin really nicely to go through the brush. So yeah, that's my favourite.
Yeah, scale 75 very nice. I have a hit and miss relationship with Vallejo. My main blue for my ultramarines is a Vallejo colour, and it goes through beautifully. I've got some of the metallics, and Jesus Christ, I hate them. Every time I put them in my brush, they block something. It can be really painful at times, some of those. But again, that's personal preference. I actually really like Citadel paints through an airbrush. I think they work really nicely. I'm currently getting bits together to decant all of my Citadel paints into dropper bottles, just to make life easier when I'm pouring stuff into getting into an airbrush, because I really like them through then. Citadel actually do an air range, and they're very thin, so I find they don't need any thinning. But they're nice. They go through well. I find the normal Citadels quite well.
I've not tried them, to be honest with you. I've not needed to. I've had what I've needed already in different ranges. And I'll put anything through the airbrush. I put Cote d'Armes through. I put P3 through. Obviously, I thin those to right levels. I use Vallejo. I do like the metallics, but I tend to use the metallics just as much with the brush. I don't. They are my, especially their starter metallics range with all their 4 sort of silvers in. Their gunmetal and their black, which is metallic, etc. I use those as with my brush, so they're my go-to metallics anyway. I don't buy any other metallics other than the Scale 75 ones, so I find they're pretty good. I've been using Hexlichen for Freddy's Emperor's Children. That seems to go through pretty well, and Squid Pink as well. That's part of the mix, so that's been going through. So I've never really had any issues with it, but I don't always go out and buy a particular paint until I need it, really, and I'm quite happy thinning the paints I have. So I think you get a thinner. So this is probably the next bit of kit. You can buy a thinner to thin whatever range. So which thinners do you use, Tom? You use a few?
I very much stick to the adage of the thinner for the paint that you're using. So, well, actually, that's probably a complete lie, actually. I used to. There are a couple. I've used Vallejo thinner for nearly everything, actually. I thin my Scale 75. Problem is, Scale 75 doesn't really need thinning most of the time. I find that's all right through my airbrush. I've thinned my Vallejo with Vallejo. If I need to thin Scale 75, I use Vallejo. I'll thin the Citadels with Vallejo as well. I use quite a bit of Tamiya, and because Tamiya is alcohol based, you've got to use that thinner with it. It won't thin with anything else. It will just wreck your airbrush. So yeah, Tamiya and Vallejo I tend to use. That's it. I know there's lots of people out there that say you can use what is it, like windscreen wash and stuff like that, all kinds of crazy stuff out there. I personally have spent £100 on my basic setup, £5 for another bottle of thinners.
It lasts forever as well. It really does. It doesn't. I've had one bottle for about 2 months now, and the amount of work I've been. If you follow me on Instagram or look at our stuff, the amount of work I've put through that for the airbrush, and it's loads. If you think you could paint, if I told you for a bottle of £5 thinner that you'd only use a quarter of it to paint 60 infantry and 20 tanks, I think you'd say that's fine. Anyone would, that's painting that amount of stuff. So it goes a long way.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've gone through one. No, I'm still on the big bottle of Vallejo thinners I bought in May. I'm on my second bottle of Tamiya thinner since May last year. So I've probably spent £20 on thinners in a year.
They do go a long way. So when you see the price tag, sort of £5-6 a bottle, you won't go through that like you go through paints. You use such a little bit.
You're putting a drop or two in with each paint, so you're not chugging through. So I recommend use the thinner, and I think it is a good adage. If you're in doubt, use the thinner that goes with the paint. If you end up with 8 different thinners, well, you should get good results with it. It's not a lot. If you're putting time and money into doing it, you want to thin your paints properly. And you should really thin everything. I know I did say I don't thin my scale 75s, but that's from experience, and that's one paint range. Anything else?
Well, Vallejo do say that you don't need to thin their air ranges. They do on their official videos and things. I tend to find that some things you don't, but you just need a little. I find you need a little drop, just a tiny little amount. It just improves that flow.
I like to put like even with scale 75, and I use quite a bit of Vallejo Model Air. I always make sure at least the first drop or two in the cup is thinner. So the first thing that hits the airbrush is thinner. It will go through the, obviously you stir it in and mix it, but it will go into the cup and into the airflow pipe, and it will just make sure even if it just acts like a bit of a lubricant, it just helps flow as well to keep it coming out as well. So PSI, Stu, this is another subject of debate, I think, along the way. What PSI should you run your compressor at? What do you do?
Change it. So I will change it depending on the job and the paint. So I will adjust it slightly to make sure that I get the right mix. So sometimes you'll be spluttering. It might be because the paint's too thick, but it might be because your PSI is wrong as well. I very rarely go above 30. I usually hover around the 20 mark, 25, and I'll sometimes drop it right down to 15 or something if I'm doing some close work, but it does depend on the paint. So I'd say don't stick with a number. Play around with it, depending on the paint you've got. So you'll always test it away before you squirt on a model first. Just check it's coming out right, and if it's not, fiddle around with the PSI first. After you check and these are things. This is where people are saying, well, how do you know how thick it is, etc. We can't really tell you on a podcast. You'll have to cheat. You'll have to get some tuition somewhere, and that might well be YouTube, and we'll come on to that a bit later. But PSI, I would always say be prepared to adjust it slightly. Because you'll get better results. But you tend to stick with 1 PSI, don't you?
I'm a bit lazy, and I stick at 25 PSI pretty much.
I think that's a good place to start.
No matter what.
I think you'll hear that number a lot.
Yeah, I'm now starting to think. Yeah, I'm starting to look at things I'm doing with my airbrush and going, I probably need to drop it a bit here, or I might need to raise it there. So I've just found it's been a good workhorse place to start with. So I think as my kit's improved, my airbrush and my compressor and stuff, I'm starting to see I need to be a bit finer with things. And one of the things I need to be a bit finer with is my pressures. Making sure my pressures are at the right height and stuff like that. So if you're gonna get started and you're just trying to do fairly simple stuff at the start, about 25 PSI is a very good place to start and work from there. Yeah. So you sort of mentioned YouTube. Then should we talk about resources? We talked about courses and tuition.
You'd need to buy on your shopping list other than paint and thinners and stuff.
Just don't buy shit.
Cleaner.
What else would we buy then? Yeah, good. Yeah, cleaner.
I think.
What do you use for cleaner then? Because this is another one where people come up with their own kind of.
Well, I've got Vallejo cleaner. and I'll use that for if I've been using general acrylic paints. It works most of the time. I will sometimes put a bit of pure Tamiya thinner through. Because it's because of the alcohol-based nature of the paints, I find that cleans quite well. It's actually if I find that the paint's a little bit stuck on, that will work. And then there's cellulose thinners as well, which is nasty stuff.
Wear a mask.
But that's good
with
if
that.
you've been using, like, well, you told me to get that when I started using Tamiya, and you do need something like that that's a bit thicker to run through. But that's all I use in terms of product, other than plain water sometimes when I strip it. And then brushes, and you need to use the brushes too much if you strip it a lot. How do you clean between paint changes? Because people do different things.
I tend to just blast a bit of thinner through it, the thinner that I'm using for the paint. So if I'm using Vallejo thinners, I might just whack a bit of Vallejo thinner. I usually have a couple of cotton buds that are just little bitch cotton buds that I'll just whiz around in the cup to, clean the crap out of it and stick it through. That'll keep me going through most of the session. Just basically all I'm doing is flushing it out to make sure I've got a clean airbrush, so the next paint that goes through it isn't contaminated. At the end of the session, I may well leave it there and put some of the Vallejo thinner cleaner in it, mix that up and put that in there, and leave it to sit there. I'll tend to, when I finish with the airbrush, plop that in, squirt a bit through it, and then leave it to sit there until I've tidied up what I'm doing or finished up what I'm doing. And then I don't tend to blast that through. I tend to tip that out onto cloth, because I tend to find that anything that's floating around in there, any little bits of paint or anything, if you blast it through the airbrush, you're just jamming it back in there. So I tip it out and let the bits come out as well. There's actually a really good kit from Element Games, which is a basic maintenance kit, which I bought very early on, which came with some brushes, a bit of cleaner. What else did it come with? I think it came with a pot as well, actually, an airbrush pot, which is a very good thing to have. The little standy pot that you'll see a lot of airbrushes have, which is a little glass dome with a top on it with like a little fork to rest it in. Great, because you can, when you're cleaning your brush or you're spraying, you finish with paint, you can blast it all into the pot rather than just spraying your walls with it.
And they're so cheap. You can get them for under $3.50 posted from China if you don't mind waiting 6 weeks for those. There's no excuse to not have one, really, especially if you've.
I think I paid a tenner for mine because I bought it from the UK. I wanted it quickly because my old one was manky, but yeah, a Sparmax airbrush cleaning pot or something like that, isn't it called? But I think it's about. Let's have a look at this. It was cleaning kit. It's on Element Games. It was a very, very good stuff. I know this is great radio. While I go on there, accessories. Oh, they probably don't have it now, but yeah, they're like a beginner's.
It had brushes, didn't it? The pot and a few
cleaning set,
and
brushes,
cleaning fluid, and it was not. Yeah, it was a good little set.
It was a really good little set for a really airbrush maintenance kit bundle, £36. Aerosol active foaming cleaner, that was very good in the spray can. I've since replaced that with things like cellulose. Airbrush cleaning pot, so yeah, you get your cleaning pot in there. 5 set of brushes in various size, which are great because they're on like almost like
a little keychain thing.
Yeah, and they're on like what's those little furry things that you bend round to make pipe cleaners. So they're almost like a pipe cleaner, so you can bend it to get it through and run it through. Some airbrush cleaner, and some lube and a little brush. It was really good. So it was really, really good, that. So that's a great little bundle to start with, because like I'm still using the brushes. The airbrush cleaner, not the foaming one, that ran out. It was very good, but I now use it as a water bottle. So it's got a nice little nozzle on it, and you can just fill it up with water and use it for doing all kinds of stuff with that. So it's all really useful, that kit. So that was a great little place to start. While I'm thinking of kit, the other thing I highly recommend, and there is debate about this, and I actually had a chat with JP at the Age of Darkness about this, but I always wear a respirator when I'm painting airbrushing. I'm putting chemicals in the air, I'm vaporizing it, I'm atomizing thinner and acrylic paints or thinner and alcohol-based paints, cleaning fluid, I'm putting it into the air. I'm going to wear a respirator. I think I paid about 10 quid for my respirator, of reasonably good quality off Amazon, and I just wouldn't mess around. If you are going to use cellulose thinners, the first time you smell it, you'll realise why you need to wear a respirator with that. That is nasty, nasty stuff. So, respirator's high up on my list of things you must have when you paint it. That, again, some people go, nah, you don't need it, you're all right. I use it when I'm actually sanding and putting resin together anyway as well, because I don't want that crap in my lungs. I did a lot of asbestos awareness stuff through work and things, and I know how nasty particles in your lungs are. You know, even if they're harmless, if you're breathing particles up that are getting built up in your lungs, it's not good for you. So yeah, get a respirator as well. What else do you think we need to go out and buy, Stu?
The minimum needs to actually go out there and actually be able to do it. I think the optional things after is a unit with an extractor built in. You use one. I don't, because I'm in a shed.
I don't.
I thought you did.
I've got one. I used to use it. I've moved my desk. I folded it up, and it's sat at the back of my desk, and it hasn't been unfolded. I do open a window, but I tend to find I don't make that much mess, if you know what I mean. I've got a cutting mat, quite a big cutting mat that I spray onto, and that has got a bit of overspill and stuff on it, but I don't tend to find the need for it. But again, some people do. I know a lot of people do. Now, again, I think you pick them up for about 50, 60 quid off eBay. There's a generic one that everybody's got that works, but I don't tend to use it anymore. But yeah, that's a good point. But that is optional again.
Just start with, though,
disposable gloves.
If you've not got one of those, don't just go straight on the table, because you won't have the skill to start with, and you will just spray the wall. And if you're in a house or something, someone's going to be very unhappy with it.
Worst case, put some newspaper down, shit like that, stuff like that. You know, just generally look after your painting area. It's going to be messy to start with. Disposable gloves. You always have a laugh at me because I don't wear mine enough, and I end up with multicoloured hands. But mechanics disposable gloves, you know what I mean, the plastic, latex gloves and stuff, cheap enough to pick up a box of 100. It's never a bad thing. If you are going to be painting quite a while, it means you don't have to go and scrub your fingers all the time. So they're quite a good optional purchase as well.
Yeah, definitely. If I'm doing a lot, saying that, I'm looking at on my hands today and they look black and silver because I've run out. But normally I will wear them on my left hand, which is the hand I hold the miniature in, because it's not like when you use a brush and you occasionally get stuff on your fingers. You will get it all over your hands if you're holding small enough pieces. So especially if you've got to work the next day and your work is somewhere where maybe people are going to see your hands and you can't be covered in paint, it just makes things a little bit easier for you. But yeah, gloves. Again, these are starting to get into the range of the optional extras and things now. We don't want to probably fill people with massive lists of shopping lists that they don't need to get. And as you explore airbrushing, you'll find things anyway. So if you think of anything you think we really need to mention now, I think that's probably.
No, I think we got it. I mean, you could go into things like moisture traps and quick releases and things like that, but none of it's stuff that if you don't have when you start, you're going to go, oh, I really wish someone had told me I needed that. So I've got my airbrush set up then. I've got my bits and pieces. Where should I go to start looking at things then? And how do I work out how to use this crap?
Aside from the courses that you mentioned at the beginning, which should be the best places, most people won't be able to do that because there won't be a course available near them, or they can afford it, etc., etc. Most people would, if they haven't got someone that they know that can already sort of show them and run through the ropes, YouTube, which is where I learned a lot of my tricks at the beginning. I think if you search airbrushing for beginners on YouTube, there's just millions and millions of things. So just go through and play lots of videos and find out which ones are most helpful to you. I watched a lot of videos from Orc Painter Nerd. I think he's got some very good basics on kits. So some of the stuff that Tom and I have been talking about. Talks about how to strip an airbrush down, talks you through all the names of the different parts and things, and then even sort of shows you some basic exercises to do on paper, just to get used to how to control the airbrush and the flow of the air and the paint and how that mixes. Again, it's much better for you to go and watch that than try and hear Tom and I explain how you do that in an audio format. What about yourself, Tom?
Yeah, very much so. There are tons out there. I've watched some from Eons of Battle, they're not specifically airbrushing, but there is some good stuff on there. I watch a lot of scale model videos as well, because they use airbrushing a lot, and they're very, very good. Some of them can be a bit complex and stuff, but there are some out there. If you type in airbrushing for beginners or airbrushing basics, there's a whole bunch of them out there. You will find an absolute ton of them. Painting Buddha's very good. Quite high level in places sometimes, but they're really good. Yeah, there's absolutely tons of stuff. YouTube is a great resource, and I think actually it's probably one of the biggest differences from when I was a kid as to now. Is just the amount of actual visual stuff you can go and look at on YouTube. Whether it's battle reports or painting techniques or anything like that. There's just so much stuff out there. So yeah, go and abuse your YouTubes.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, ask us any questions. You can fire us a message or something if you're thinking about getting into it. Maybe you found a link to some equipment and you want to ask whether we think it's a good place to start. By all means, we're happy to answer any questions. There's a lot of painters out there that are using airbrushes at the moment. So if you're listening to us, you're probably aware of airbrushes very much on the scene. So if you haven't got them, give it a go. Even if you just use it to start off doing priming and things and stick with your cheap Chinese one for a little while. You can get some base layers down. It's cheaper than buying rattle cans. Even if you just put in a flat red on your Blood Angels and then doing basic paint job afterwards, it's definitely cheaper than buying loads of rattle cans. And it means you can do it in all weather, so you don't have to wait for a warm enough day. You can if you've got somewhere that you can airbrush inside, you can prime your models. You can get your base colours down when it's cold and wet outside.
Most definitely. Awesome then. I think that's everything from me.
Absolutely. So when we come back, we'll come back for the close down.
Hey then, guys, we're going to do a real quick close out then, because it's been a bit of a mega episode. Again, big thanks for Sam for coming on and chatting Weekender with us, and hopefully the airbrushing stuff was useful for you. You can get in touch with us on all the ways Stu mentioned earlier: email, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I don't know, MySpace, whatever, Foursquare. We might set up those accounts if people need them.
Do they still exist? Do they actually? Is MySpace still going?
I'm pretty sure I've still got a MySpace account somewhere.
My old login, and if I can see whether I'm still on there. And a black and white photo, looking away from the camera kind of shot. I wonder.
I'm actually going to try my email address that I had. Geez, I don't even have a first clue what the password would be.
Well, let's not do it now. let's not
log into. MySpace still exists. That's all we need to do. So we've mentioned Tarsis. That obviously is coming up. There are lots of events going on. There seems to have been a gluttony of events at the start of the year, and we've there's lots of events set now, and there not seem to be new ones popping up. But if you guys are thinking of running an event, send us a message. We'll make sure we pimp it out for you. I know the guys who ran Traitor's Rage, 40k Brawl, Simon, he's just started work on his next Heresy event, Easter time, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Obviously, if we get any details, we'll make sure we shout it out and put it out for Simon. Aside from that, check out the Road to Terror, Max and Paddy. Go and give them a listen. I think episode 2's just dropped, hasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Max was moaning that he's like a monkey throwing shit at a wall when it comes to technology, but to be fair to him, the sound quality is pretty good for someone where they're still using chimps in wheels to power their internet connection. So they're doing all right. Go and see our friends at the Spacemen with Guns podcast. They think they've did an episode 2. Is episode 3 coming?
2, yeah, I don't know about when the next one's out.
Episode 3's so a friendly voice may appear on one of their episodes fairly soon, spouting more Ultramarines propaganda.
There'll be 3 of you on there doing it.
3 Ultramarines in a room, it's going to get some serious circle jerking going on. So, go check them out. Go and give them a support. Yeah, everybody throwing stuff out for the Heresy. I mean, I remember when I used to get excited when Horus or Imperial Truth dropped because they were my only dose of Heresy, and we're actually part of the global campaign this year, Tim's global campaign from the Horus, and I think there are 11 podcasts running months in that, and that says it all, really, doesn't it? Or it might be, it's 11 podcasts, isn't it? Yeah. Basically, we're running a year's worth, and that's pretty awesome to have, enough podcasts to fill a year. So, we got all the usual suspects out there. Links are all in the show notes. If you are only downloading 2 or 3 podcasts, check our show notes because there are 11 of them
for
in
that
there.
global campaign, I suppose, if you haven't heard of it, and I can't understand why you'd be listening to this and not heard it on one of the other casts, but Tim's just recorded a mini episode launching it. It launches this month, launches February, so get on it. What is it, Golok? Have I pronounced that right? Is it
the second Golok cluster? It sounds like it's spelled like bollock, but with a C.
And we're month 2, March. When I say we, Tom is, because I've done nothing at all. Tom's just done it all. But do get involved.
Actually, to be fair, I need to share that with you so you can proofread it for me because I write like an autistic kid with crayons. So there's a global campaign. Go and check out the iHorror latest episode. Tim does a really good intro on what it is. It's all going to be based off Oz 30k. I am registered on Oz 30k, and I'm not the most literate on there. I am a complete internet idiot when it comes to it, but I managed to register on there and work it out. It is pretty good. I was thinking earlier I might try and get Andrew Hollis on, who runs it.
Sounds like a good idea.
Come and chat about it, but because I don't think it's widely known in the UK. But the Oz 30k system is basically a wiki it's a wiki page, so like Wikipedia, where you can edit it. It's a website. It's really cool. I've got myself registered on there. I've got my little 129th company of the Ultramarines registered on there. You can record battles on there. You can join into crusades. I know the Australians are massive into
I'm going to give it a go for my Solar Auxiliary. I didn't do it for the Pale Fist because I was running Pollux and I didn't really feel like writing fluff for a named character, so to speak. But I've already got some fluff down for the Solar Auxiliary, so hopefully they'll be finished within the next couple of months. Now I've started painting them, and I'm gonna set it up for that. I probably won't get it set up for our month, but I might take part in the some of the months after that. I found a couple of events actually. There's one popped up on Facebook the other day, and I don't know these guys, but we'll give them a shout out anyway. I don't know if they listen, but it's 2 Tower 30k events. It's in April in Yorkshire. 2 + 1 days of 30k. It's the 8th and 9th of April at Huddersfield Games. That is on Facebook. So it's not full up yet by the looks of things. Looking at the Facebook event. So if you're looking for something to do in April, and you've not gone to Greg's thing in London, and you want to go to one up north, so have a look at that one. And then we can't not give a shout out to the Northern Heresy guys. They've got an event, haven't they?
They're running
Folly.
that's
on the 6th of May at. Oh, here we go. why did I bother doing this? It's at some place in Sweden, apparently. Lindhusk Bockhalhin. They can have a laugh at that if they listen.
Jens Linus, what you need to do is record that as an MP3 file, send it to Stu, and he can just chop it in seamlessly into it.
So if you're, I don't think that's one for people to probably travel to. It sounds like it's 1,000 points or 1,500 point sort of starter. At least when they were listening to on the show talking about it, I think that's what they. Yeah, here we go. Narrative event, 1,000 points. So it's about getting people started. So it's really if you're local to them. But yeah, let's give them a shout out because I don't think they're.
I'm obviously off. I'm off to No Retreat. I think there is one space that's come up available for No Retreat. Horus Heresy.
Yeah, they're trying to fill it. He asked me today, and I wish I could go, but it's just too short notice to travel, etc., etc. So
get a message in. Come and fight the monkeys on the Gibraltar Rocks with me and Jens. We're going to get very drunk on whiskey and take his girlfriend up there and make her fight monkeys. So if you want to see some serious monkey fighting, me and Jens are having a throwdown. We're going to throw down, have a match, podcast rivalry. Loser has to swim to Africa. has been called out, so I'm going to get my swimming costume on, get my bikini and swim to Africa. So there's that.
North
so,
Africa,
yeah,
it's really
space
safe
up
at the
there.
moment. Nice place to visit. Hopefully you swim. Hopefully you
Yeah,
end up in
yeah,
Morocco
especially
and don't go any
swimming.
further along the coast, or you're going to be in trouble.
So, yeah, give that a look. It's going to be a good event. Steve Pardo's put a huge amount of effort into making a real top quality event there. So, go and look at that. What else we got? I've been invited to the Horus Heresy. I've just clicked on all the fucking events I've been invited to that I haven't dealt with. Horus Heresy doubles up in June 3rd, Huxlow Science College. That's greetings from the Warp. So our friend Matthew Marlowe, he puts on a shit ton of events, and there's a doubles event up their way on the 3rd of June. Go and check out the greetings for the Warp guys. Scandus was selling out rapidly, wasn't it? Oh, no, Scorpius first. Scorpius Insurrection.
Two places left announced this evening. So as
get your finger out. If you want to go to Sweden, go and get that. Actually, we better give Sam a shout out. So we're saying we got no fucking events, Stu. We got fucking tons to deal with. Sam, our good friend Sam down at Firestorm Games in Cardiff, Ruination into the Firestorm. 13th to the 15th of October. Basic event pack is up at the moment, just to give you an idea what it is. But Firestorm Games, where Greg from the Imperial Truth held his events over the last couple of years. Sam is putting on an event there, which is going to be pretty wicked. Details, there's a Facebook group. I know Sam has literally decided to do it about 2 weeks ago, and he's getting his stuff together. And then there is the Kings of Winter 2017 down in Parnham, which is our friends over at 40k Brawl. Simon is putting on another tournament down there for it. 2,500 points, 3 games. So pretty good. Yeah, you obviously heard our review of Traitor's Rage last time. That's obviously a long way off, December 2nd, 2017. Fucking hell, so 11 months in the future, but 12 months in the future. But yeah, there's lots going on for the UK, so go and get involved. And nobody wants to talk to me anymore. I think I killed Stu. He's died.
I'm still here, just waiting for you to close this show out so we can all go to bed. Not together.
I think we should talk for another. I think I might just talk for another round.
I haven't had my tea yet.
Go in.
It's now 11:05.
When does a late tea become an early breakfast?
It's pork stew. You can't eat pork stew for breakfast, can you?
I had a fucking cracking hot pot. The wife's in Scotland for 3 days.
Just made you a big pot of food and said, heat that up.
No, she literally went to the shop and bought microwave meals in a tin that I could just cook in the oven, because she was like, if I don't, you won't cook. So I had a really nice hot pot. At the weekend, we went to the pub on the weekend when we were in Ilfracombe, and we got there on Friday lunchtime, because I've been told we could check in from lunchtime. It's like, sweet, we're getting out of lunchtime. Give us a couple of hours to get ready before we go out drinking and running. Got there at lunchtime, so I went, yeah, you can't check in till 2:30. I was like, fuck, it's 12:30. What am I going to do for 2 hours in fucking Ilfracombe? I mean, if you've ever been to a seaside town in summer, in winter, there's nothing open. So we ended up in this little, very nice restaurant, to be fair, actually. And I said, and she was like, I got 2 meals for £6. I'm like, fucking score, that'll do. And I was like, I want the hot pot. And she was like, okay. Came out like 20 minutes later when I was about to get up and be like, where the fuck's the food? She was like, we haven't got any. I was like, I've been sat here for 20 fucking minutes. It's not exactly fucking new. What the fuck's going on here, love? And I lost. I didn't get my hot pot, so the wife bought me a hot pot. So I should probably explain for our international listeners what a hot pot is, shouldn't I? It's pretty sweet. It's basically minced beef, peas, onions, and potatoes in a bowl. It's fucking brilliant. And gravy, loads of gravy. It's great, proper English food. No flavour, no texture, just meat, veg, and gravy. And proper gravy, Jake. Not that gravy that you dip your biscuits in. Proper thick brown gravy. Proper gravy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway. Sue, do you want to go get some dinner then, or should I keep talking about hot pots?
I can just hang up at any time. The recording ends when I press hang up, so yeah.
Anyway, whose musical choice is it this week? Is it mine or yours?
You can choose if you want, mate. Absolutely. I picked yours for you last time, so.
All right, I better come up with something. What did I come up with last time? Goldie Looking Chain, didn't I? I better find something that's. I tell you what, for all our international listeners, Stu, you can put "I'm a Cider Drinker" by the Wurzels on. That'll give them a real education as to where we're from.
Oh, God.
So enjoy some West Country folk music, because if I keep saying it enough in the end of this this end segment, Stu can't override me. So yeah, enjoy the Wurzels, enjoy "I'm a Cider Drinker," and we'll catch up with you soon, guys.
Okay, guys.
When the moon shines on the cowshed and we're rolling in the hay, all the cows are out there grazing and the milk is on its way. I am a cider drinker, I drinks it all of the day. I am a cider drinker, it soothes all me troubles away. O-R-O-R-A, O-R-O-R-A. Proper jobs, wanna try some, young'un? It's so cozy in the kitchen with the smell of rabbit stew. When the breeze blows across the farmyard, you can smell the cowshed too. Oh, never smelt nothing like it all my life. When those combine wheels stops turning and the hard day's work is done, there's a pub around the corner. It's the place we have our fun. We'll have some fun and all. I am a cider drinker, I drinks it all of the day. I am a cider drinker, it soothes all me troubles away. O-R-O-R-A, O-R-O-R-A. Come on, young, get a couple of points down here then. Now, dear old Mabel, when she's able, we takes a stroll down Lover's Lane, and we'll sink a point to Scrumpy, then we'll play all nature's game. But we end up in the duck pond when the pub decides to close, with me britches full of tadpoles and the newts between me toes. Oh, I am a cider